That is to say over there on YouTube. We appreciate you very much as well. Thanks. Welcome in. Let's have a little 3-hour chat. Let's get together and talk it through as we've had to do really all year long. How about the baseball, Tom, last night? How about the fact that you had two dudes wrestling away a ball from a mitt of a player in the World Series, in which one man held the man's arm so that he couldn't go back down onto the field? Like, as brazen fan interference as you will ever see in professional sports anywhere ever. That was insane. Like, you could, in theory, look at that and say they were guilty of assault.
Oh, yeah. I think we're getting to a place now with fandom. I think we've said this before with on-court, on-field incidents where there are dust-ups.
Yeah.
You know, keyboard warrior culture has its own thing and its own legacy, and this is part of it. And they're going to have to cage us like animals, sir. All of us. I mean, you had interference in the left field wall in L.A. in the series, too. And thankfully, they got that one right. I know Baltimore fans are saying, oh, sure.
Yeah,
okay,
you get that one right.
Now you get it.
Yeah.
Instead of the Jeter one against us in, what was that, 97?
Yeah. Yeah, the Jeffrey Mayer play.
It's fairly common to have these interactions with fans.
But fan interference as in I catch a ball that's going to be a home run, maybe not, it's close, it's on the wall, and holding a man up physically while twisting his hand. Dude, that's how you take an ass beating. That's when a player decides, oh, no, we're not doing this.
That's what I'm saying. How many times have you had to say in the last 5 years, well, that's a great idea until a player walks up to you and you realize how large these players are and how in what kind of shape they're in. And how about the 5 years prior? I mean, outside of the Malice at the Palace, that was its own
Which
thing.
Is awesome.
Yeah, but stuff like that happens routinely all the time now. Now, left and right, you have college football programs having to decry their fans throwing bottles on the field. That didn't just happen in Austin, Texas. That's happened a bunch of places this season. I mean, it's interesting how pervasive this is after everybody can say what they feel on social media with an anonymous handle.
It is weird, though, because that is, if you're a fan, like if you paid to be in the World Series, I just got done talking about it yesterday on the show, or excuse me, Monday on the show. I think I gave you the numbers. TickPicks. If you recall, TickPicks said that the average cost to get into that stadium for a World Series game was over $1,200. That if you had good seats, you were spending well over $2,000. Now, those two gentlemen weren't spending $2,000+, but over $1,000. What are you doing? I mean, you're going to miss the rest of the World Series. And there's a chance if you do that. First of all, you're just a moron if you do it. It speaks to a more pervasive mindset that you're a problem. But secondly, if you remove that aspect and just talk about like what the consequences could be, I mean, every camera, including that of the network, caught it. So they know who you are. They know exactly what you look like. You're immediately going to be kicked out. And then you're probably going to be on a list of people that can never come back.
Yeah, and they're doing facial recognition now more and more at these ballparks. You can do the expedited safety lane. I did that in San Francisco and I think Boston as well this year. But there's a fast pass lane, if you will. And as long as you take a selfie, then you walk through these little bars and it's facial recognition. And they don't even need to scan your ticket. You just walk in because they know on an app that you have a ticket. Man, that's at the gate. But imagine, I mean, casinos have had facial recognition, security surveillance stuff forever. So yeah, some of these bands, like, they'll hold up because they know you by the way you appear.
Yeah, unless you want to go through the trouble of wearing a disguise to get back into a ball game at some point, you're probably banning yourself for a foul ball.
Right. You won't be able to resell that.
No,
do that for Ohtani's 50th home run with 50 steals.
Those guys beat the hell out of each other. We already learned that story.
Yeah.
They already did. Yeah, it is. It's pretty wild what happened there. Yankees do salvage a game there. Good. Wanted to see more baseball. I don't want the World Series to be over this quickly. I can't say I was rooting for New York, but I didn't want to see the series end. So 11-4 will work, and it's a rout, and they blow it open and all that good stuff. Good old Anthony Volpe, man. He's had himself a postseason. If not for him, wouldn't have a lot to write home about. And, of course, Freddie Freeman hit another home run. because that guy is just going to do that over and over and over again. So eventually when they win the World Series, he'll be the MVP.
Yeah, they'll just call him Mr. World Series. You can have Mr. October, Mr. November. I'm just going to be Mr. World Series. 6 straight World Series games with a home run for Freddie.
I was just watching before we came on. I'm watching the replay of this. The dude to the guy's left, who reaches out and grabs Mookie Betts' left arm and pulls him up towards the stands in order for his friend to be able to execute the pulling out of the glove, the ball, while twisting Mookie's left arm. Dude, that should be instantaneous ass beating central. That should, I mean, he could have pat immediately in that moment because you're being accosted. That's bizarre. That's not catching a foul ball.
That's or swatting it away.
Right.
Like, I understand the swatting away if the opponent's glove is in the stands. Get the hell out of here.
That's not anything like that. That's not normal. That's not what we've seen with fan interference. It's just bizarre. Those two dudes have committed crimes together elsewhere. Like, they've committed crimes together in other locations.
Could be Staten Island.
I'm sure of it. I am sure of it. How are we feeling about Florida State, North Carolina? You guys reached out to me this morning and said, hey, got to get your prediction in for the report. And I felt so ill-prepared. I was taken aback by that request.
There's a game?
What are you talking about? Florida State still playing football? I know that's been a central theme, unfortunately, on the show lately, and it's probably annoying because, you know, it's something we always get into no matter the status of the season and the situation, whether you're really, really good, mildly good, pretty bad, really bad. This is a different level. This is a level that we haven't really had to ever deal with. I've been on the air 26 years, almost 27. Never dealt with this. And so I think I'm finding out that this is rock bottom. There's no doubt about that. And that it gets interesting.
We might not be done yet. We might not be done. There might be another flight of stairs we can fall down and roll down, like Stoops in Coming to America.
I don't think so, though. The only way it'd get lower is if you lost to Charleston Southern.
So there is a way.
But I don't think I really am not sure that's possible.
Yeah, the thing, so for me, you said for a long time that you need to be honest with the audience.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like this, you need to give of yourself in order for people to buy in.
For people to, well, it's not even buying, it's just connecting with you. You're trying to connect with people and have a conversation every day. And it's one-sided. And we give an opinion every day and people either agree, disagree, or entertain it or don't. But you're trying to connect, certainly.
Yeah, this week finally broke me.
Why? Why did this week break you?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
The specific assignment of the report this week, which I got no problem with, it's not the assignment, so I'll be on the Warchant report for this week's breakdown, means that you've got to go deep dive into North Carolina for this game. And I'm watching clips of North Carolina and Virginia. Well, the clips. I'm watching the game, start to finish yesterday, of North Carolina, Virginia. Tom Brenneman's on the call.
Great.
It's on the CW. They're doing experimental camera things because they're trying to be new and hip, and they've got a referee cam that bounces up and down and shakes the screen, and you're like, I can't tell what the hell just happened. And it's almost like I had a little emergency brake kick in there. And I'm like, this is so bad. These two teams are so bad. North Carolina and Virginia are awful. And it reminds me of watching Memphis, and it reminds me of watching Cal, and it reminds me of watching SMU get lucky or Duke get lucky week after week. And then I have to come to the conclusion, but they're better than us.
Yeah, but they're better than us is the hardest part.
And I guess it took 8 times of doing that to finally break a little bit. I'm like, my God, you could run on this team. They gave up an average of 35, 40 points for several weeks in a row. Virginia messed around, made a bunch of situational mistakes in that game. You could run on North Carolina if we could run it all, but we can't run it all. So it's just this straitjacket feeling of, man, we are just trapped in the muck. I would think this would be an opportunity to go grab a win on Saturday, but I can't trust that. As bad as North Carolina looked on defense the last few weeks, you can't trust it. So that's what broke me.
Well, I was broken before the Miami game because of how little the Miami game meant and why that bothered me so much. I've talked about that tradition, going to that game, more than any other in my lifetime. I've been to more Florida State Miami games than I've been to any other game against any other team or any other, even including Bucks games. I've been to more Florida State Miami games specifically than any other rivalry or game in my memory, and it's always meant the world to me. And it just felt so empty last week. And that's when I had my come to Jesus moment, had to come on here and tell everybody that, look, I'm sorry. I don't have the fervor and the energy I should. I'm failing you as a host in that situation because I don't have, the requisite angle and intensity of focus about a game that I should care so much about when we've rendered it moot. It's, for like, people will say to me, and I get these emails, and I've seen it before on Twitter, where like, well, like, when, the season was lost long ago. Why are you just now? I said, because there are levels to this. You can come to the conclusion that whatever you had hoped for at the start of the season was not going to be. Like, you can come to that conclusion, pretty early on. When you lose to Georgia Tech, okay, that's tough. That's not what I was expecting, but all right. And then you get housed by Boston College, and you really got kind of manhandled in that game. Now you're 0-2, and the thought of making the ACC Championship game seemed highly unlikely in that moment. Very unlikely. So you start to wrap your mind around that. But you still hold on to some measure of hope. It's still sort of, all right, look, we've got a lot of changes. A lot of people left last year, went on to the NFL. When you lose 10 NFL players, maybe it was a little bit bigger of an adjustment than I realized. Surely they'll get it going. There have been some players that have played well in the past that aren't playing well currently. Let's see if we can't get something started this week. And then we didn't. And then pretty soon it became apparent that, well, not only are you not going to make the ACC Championship game, now you're really becoming, you're kind of coming to the conclusion that there's a good chance you might not make a bowl. And then you're like, okay, well, all right, this is not ideal, but let's see how the young guys do. Let's see what we go with here. Let's play a different quarterback. Maybe one of these young quarterbacks will give us a reason to be excited. Everybody goes through bad seasons. I've sat through bad seasons before. And at that point of the season, you're not maybe resigned to the idea of going 2-10. You're hoping to find a little something before you get to the Miami game. Can we just find a little something before we get to that Miami game and maybe give them a scare? Let's see what happens. And then there's another layer that falls to the wayside because you come to the conclusion, well, we can't block and we can't catch. And if you can't block, you can't do much. But if you can't block and you can't catch, you really can't do anything. And then, that's another level of disappointment. And so that's where that's where the breaking point happened for me, where I was just like, well, this is an exercise, quite literally, in futility, and I don't want to race this season forward, even though it's exactly what we need is to move on. But I love college football, and I want to embrace the season because you only get so many of these.
Of course, and that's where, again, it's also frustrating because of the quality of the teams that you've played and lost to. This has not been a murderer's row of a schedule. I remember there was a caller in the postgame show on Saturday who said, look, the only two real teams we played are Miami and Clemson. Otherwise, schedule's been pretty easy relative to, the country. If you were an above average football team,
yes,
you'd be over 500. And you remind yourself that you did play Tech and Boston College and Memphis and Cal. And Duke.
By the way, Cal's 0-4 in the ACC. They haven't won a conference game.
Right. And North Carolina just won their first conference game.
Yeah.
And it bleeds into something you said earlier this year, which is just watching the ACC football product.
Oh, it's fading fast.
It is awful.
Listen, buddy, this is a bad weekend for the ACC, and I'll tell you why. I saw this morning when I was going through the schedule. I was starting to look at, just show prep and that sort of thing, also my betting prep. And I was like, man, the ACC has themselves an opportunity here. They've got a prime time game on Saturday between two top 20 teams. Both matter greatly right now in the ACC race. So nothing like two top 20 ACC teams facing each other in prime time on a Saturday, and guess where the game is? The ACC network. Ain't nobody watching this game. Nobody's seeing this game. And meanwhile, you look around, and you got a game like Arkansas and Ole Miss, which is on ABC or ESPN right noon. Then the next one, CBS or ABC or ESPN or Fox. Like all these matchups, and those two conferences have middling teams where the nation sees them. So you're beginning to feel the weight of this sorry product that the ACC is, and we're stuck here, and we're not doing anything to help, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, we're in the basement.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's like I'm watching the quality of these games, and I see it.
Oh, yeah.
I see opportunity. Like, my brain still has that reflex, which is, we're
we
better
beat
than
them.
that.
We can do this. Yeah.
No, but you don't.
No, not
But you don't. Like, do you know how bad these teams are that we're getting smoked by? Like, that is the hard part.
Yeah.
And so, I'll be a little bit more measured on the report about it, but, it's the key about North Carolina's offense against FSU's defense. Okay, Omarion Hampton is a 1,000-yard rusher already this year. He's a do-it-all back. He's pretty good. I don't know how good he is beyond, the stat line says that he could be pro this, pro that. But here's what I do know is he's a truth serum player. If you don't want to be there.
I said it last week about Martinez.
Right, exactly. It's a very similar thing. And I wonder at what point they're going to break. Now, there are certain players in that defensive 11 that I'm over, and I prefer they don't play anymore because they don't want to be there. So let's help them not play anymore by getting them off the gosh darn field. But this is what North Carolina will be, is a team that, if you don't care, they'll take it. Like, they wanted enough to take it if you don't care. And I hate that you have to continually consider those things because the defense by and large has cared. The defense by and large week to week has cared. But it's 1-7 and it's North Carolina and it's the middle of the afternoon and I don't know where their head's at. And it's just so frustrating that you have to consider all those outside factors rather than just look at North Carolina perform and say, we're better than them. We're going to win. Damn it, man. This for the 9th time this year, we got to do this dance.
I would note, Tom, and it will upset you even more when you think about it because it's going to come up on Saturday. If this offense, yet again, fails to move the football, fails to break 300 yards of total offense, fails to average anything north of 5 yards per play, fails to score in the 20s again, right? You're going to stop because you're going to say, oh, yeah, this is the North Carolina team that gave up 70 points to James Madison. 70. That's right. They did. I remember because we were going over to Hotel Indigo for a meet and greet and a get-together prior to Florida State's game that week. It was week 5. And I pulled into the parking garage while listening to the North Carolina James Madison game and listened to whoever it is that does their color analysis because he's a former player, and I could hear it in his voice. I could hear the thing that I hear in our voice, this mounting frustration and sadness, and it's even worse for a former player of that school. So I empathized with him because I was like, that guy's been on the field. For that, he's donned those colors. He has proudly worn North Carolina football gear on the field of battle. And my man had to sit there and go, we've just given up 48 points and a half. I mean, he was in shock.
Well, and you can see that when you watch them. Yet they end up smoking Virginia.
Yeah.
A team that when they took on BC, remember, we're like, well, BC might not be bad. No, Virginia beat them. Okay. Virginia beat them. And it was, they did kind of what they wanted at times on offense. But Virginia is capable of getting smoked by North Carolina, who gives up 70 to James Madison. What kind of transitive nonsense do we have to do here in the ACC?
Carolina gave up 41 points to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Carolina gave up 34 points to Pitt. Carolina gave up 70 to James Madison.
What I'm tired of saying is it's there. The opportunity is there because what does it matter?
No, but that gets back to something. Listen, you're right about that. But when you're broken, you can't have expectations.
Yeah.
You can't, when it's all there for you and you're too broken to take it, then you can't have expectations. And I think, I'm not in denial. I haven't been in denial for a while that we're broken. I'm just disappointed and saddened that every week is another week where that's on display. And, you take great pride in your school and you love the garnet and gold. We both do. And it's just hard to watch. I hate it for a lot of those kids. Not all of those kids are going through the motion. A lot of those kids have played very hard and worked very hard. And this is, for some of them, it's their final year here. It's hard to imagine.
Can you imagine being Toafili?
Yeah, I hate it for him most. I really do.
At some point, is there like a Wednesday practice, where you just chuck your helmet, which again, that's something that's a hot button for me. I would never want, but you just scream, "Why won't you give me the ball? I can help you. I can help you."
Because we can't block for you.
Keep me on the field.
We can't block for you.
I got 2 touches. We get 15 yards, and you're like, "Hey, Cam Davis, let's give you the ball." Like, God, dog it. We're on the plus side. Keep me on the field.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted in a lot of ways because, the game is the game. We're going to play 3:30 ACC Network on Saturday. We'll be over at Hotel Indigo. We're going to do the pregame show. We'll be professional about it. We're going to take the approach of, okay, let's talk about the game. If we're able to do this is available. We'll point that out. You're right to say that. And we will do that. We will do that earnestly. We will do that. I'll do my best to do that. But, I think we do it with the knowledge that while those opportunities and descriptions of what is possible are true, we also know we're not going to do that. We're not going to take advantage of those things because of the brokenness of which I speak. And I think it's hard too, because now when something is broken in your life, on the football field, perhaps something that you own like a car, all you want to have done is for it to be fixed. You don't like the sitting in limbo waiting for the thing to get fixed. You want to go about the process of fixing it. So if you injure yourself, you want to heal as quickly as possible. When you have a cold, okay, I'm going to lay down, I'm going to guzzle water, I'm going to sleep. Come on, body, let's get it together. We got to get past this. This sucks. I can't do anything sick like this. We're sick and we can't fix it for weeks, and you just have to sit there and deal with it. And that's the hard part. That's the frustration. Because I know that we have to go through this exercise and play these games.
And watch Manny Diaz jog to the 50-yard line and shake your coach's hand because Duke just did it. Well, to watch Mac Brown.
Who's never done it.
Right.
Just as Duke never had.
Mm-hmm.
One by one, they all fall.
Unbelievable.
Off into the ocean it goes, buddy. And that's tough. And I empathize. And listen, the vitriol amongst our fan base now towards each other, towards this coaching staff, towards this team, towards me and you and anybody that talks about this program, it's only gotten ratcheted up and uglier.
The thing I will say is, for the events that we have, like a happy hour or
those go well. Those go well because you're face to face with people and you're humanized.
Right. Well, of course they do. Well, that's a nice way to tie a bow to the beginning of this. But the thing that keeps me in a place of somewhat sanity is that a lot of those faces, you're going to see them on a Friday before a football game when we're good again, and you're going to see them in a pregame setting, Hotel Indigo, top floor. Some years from now, when we're competing for real things again, and you're going to say, can you believe the ride we went on? Because I've been there. That was my entire graduating class. All my friends, the many different people that I lived with in college over the years, my buddies from high school that we went to Florida State together. Like, when we got to that point in 2013, the night against Pitt, I was sitting next to show contributor Chris, who I've known since 2003. 10 years later, we're saying, oh my God, we got us one. And then my buddies from high school, they made the trip out to Pasadena. And before we went in against Auburn, I found them on that golf course where everybody parks at. I'm like, can you believe it? We've made it. That's what keeps me in this thing, because Florida State does get there. Miami's like, I don't know, we better cash in now because it could be another 25 years before we feel like this again. For us, it'll swing around, and that's what keeps me going is we'll see those fans again. You'll say, can you believe that 1-7, that 1-8, that 1-9 team?
Perspective is a great thing. And if you have it, even though we're learning a different level of perspective this year than we ever thought we'd have to.
This is dumb.
Yeah, but you know what's good about this, Tom, is it cannot be worse. Like, I don't think...
Hold my beer, 0-8.
No, I don't think, Tom, 2-10 is better per se. I know by definition in terms of the win column, 2-10 is better than 0-12. Because if some year Florida State ever went 0-12, you'd say, see, it could get worse. Nah. This is the same level of absolute incompetent impotence that you there's no...
Well, we were preseason top 10. Yeah. So matching that up with 1-7.
Yeah. I mean, this is... No.
When they do that thing in about a month where they say preseason poll and the final poll, they're, oh my God.
I I spend a lot of time thinking about how will I identify the changes as they're happening, both in terms of personnel. How will I identify, kind of where Mike's head's at? Because I'm just curious. Now I'm really, really curious. What does he do? We know changes are happening. What does he do? It's hard to know. I think you could see 8 new coaches on this staff. Could see 3.
Could ask him in the post game of the Florida loss later this next month. And you say, how many changes are you going to make? Do you have a number, Mike? Like how many?
Well, Jeff, I'll have you know that before I came in here to meet with you guys, I fired everybody. They're all gone. They've all been sent packing, and we're starting fresh tonight. Tonight. I have a meeting with my new staff tonight.
I've decided that exit meetings are not necessary.
No.
I just said you need to meet the exit.
Yeah.
That's what's necessary.
Just drop off your playbook. Don't worry about it. I need your key fob. Thanks. Let me get your key fob. Appreciate you.
Don't even need your playbook.
Yeah.
Changing it. We're changing it.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Excited about your home design with Tallahassee Lighting and Decor, where you can discover an incredible selection of lighting fixtures, exceptional furniture, and unique decor for any style and any home. At Tallahassee Lighting and Decor, you'll get the chance to consult with one of our design representatives to curate the perfect space to fit your home and lifestyle. Visit Tallahassee Lighting and Decor today. Proud sponsor of Patty's Playhouse, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Find out more at tallylighting.com. That's tallylighting.com.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no heating and air conditioning. Enterprises, roofing and construction services. Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204. Pinch-A-Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch-A-Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number 1. Health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number 2, Pinch-A-Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number 3, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch-A-Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Hey, Greg, did you know that some cars are more prone to auto glass damage than others?
I did not know that.
Yeah, a Jeep windshield is flat, making it very prone to damage. Nissan Rogues are popular. Toyotas, Subarus are always in my shop because they get damaged frequently and they require recalibration.
So you guys see a lot of SUVs.
Yeah, I guess the angle of the glass has a lot to do with it.
But it's not like you can avoid a rock no matter what you're driving.
Exactly. So just go to SeminoleAutoglass.com and let us take care of everything for you.
So how often do you see a DeLorean?
From time to time. Better call Seminole.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I see in here where we had two gentlemen not make the game. Colby, appreciate your contribution. Thank you. That's kind. I'm an old fan from my fan. My dad's a Cane fan. We live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. This was the first year we both said, nah, we're not going because we're so bad. Even my dad didn't want to see the ass kicking we were going to get. Colby, I'll just let you know, I got a buddy of mine who's in Scranton, and I was going to say his job, but I'm not going to because it's a law enforcement position, but for the entire Midwest. And I've been to Scranton. I went to a wedding in Scranton. Of course, the office takes place in Scranton.
Yeah, you had some delicious Yingling, right?
But I will tell you that the only reason I bring any of this up is that I walked over to the University of Scranton, founded 1888.
Did you run down their football field?
I did. But what I also did was that I bought a shirt there from the school bookstore, and I don't know what it was about. It was like a tri-blend sort of thing. It was the softest, most comfortable shirt I've ever worn. I wore that sucker to no end, and I ruined it because I loved it so much. When in doubt, that was the shirt I was grabbing. Got 100 shirts. I'm a T-shirt guy. I had 100 of them sitting in that drawer, and I'd be like, oh, we're going to go with the Scranton shirt today. And my wife would be like, I just washed that because you wore it 2 days ago. Why are you? It's a comfortable shirt. I don't know what you want me to do. I had that shirt on all the time. So near and dear to my heart there, University of Scranton. Private little university there with the best of shirts, I tell you. The best of shirts if you ever go. I don't know, Colby, if you've visited the school bookstore, get you a Scranton shirt. You'll thank me later. The fact that they've gone young is a positive for Saturdays for you and me and everybody else. I wanted to infuse the conversation with a little bit of positive because that does make it digestible. I can watch on Saturday and not just be wanting to bang my head against a wall. Okay, let's see how this kid does. Is there growth from this kid? He's played in 3 games now. Let's see where he's at. You know, you get a little excited about that, and I mean that legitimately. Now, if you want that existential dread that comes with it, all you got to do is think about, are we capable of keeping him? Because that's the next thing you think is, well, that kid's playing a lot now, and he is putting out tape, and people are going to see that tape, and they're going to say, I kind of like what that represents. Maybe it's not there yet, but it could be for us in 2 years. He fits nicely right here. We have pieces that he doesn't have around him now. Maybe we could lure him. So that's going to happen. I mean, that's the fight. Me and Ira and Corey were debating this yesterday, you know, the thought being that, hey, Jeff, why so down? You sounded morose on Monday. Don't you know that Florida State could just as easily win 8 or 9 games next year, just like they lost 10 this year? That's the college football world. I'm like, I'm not so sure it's that easy. I'm not so sure that it's going to flip that easily for Florida State. Do schools flip? Are there capabilities now that weren't in place in the past? Sure. But we're kind of an outlier of an outlier. We're kind of really out there right now.
I would say that the news that you have in your favor is that you play in this conference still. And so if you do have a competent offensive line that you purchase, that you need to purchase, and, you know, whatever it is.
Got to go in heavy on that one.
Yeah, your record this year would be at or above 500 if you had the offense. If you had anything in the solar system of the offensive line that Mike Norvell thought, you'd be over 500 this season. So, you know, that's the thing for me where I'd say you have opportunity. However, Next year, you've got Miami, Clemson, Alabama, and Florida also on the schedule. So those are 4 games. How many of those do you think you're going to win? 1?
Alabama, Clemson, Florida, and who? Notre Dame, did you say?
No, Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Miami.
Yeah.
So you're going to win one of those, hopefully?
Maybe, yeah.
Unless Lagway gets poached because Napier gets fired, then that changes that conversation. Miami, oddly, is the most gettable of those because they've got a lot of turnover that's coming. But in those 4 contests, you hope to get 1, and then you would have opportunity. You have leeway for 1 more loss outside of that to get to 8, right? I mean, so the margin for error, not so great, but at least you're in this conference, and this conference gives you a fighting chance to rack up some wins because, dude, the teams in this conference are bad, and we're losing to them this year, but you get a good offensive line, and maybe that changes a little bit.
I do wonder about the damage that can be done early. Your psyche is shattered currently, and you open with Bama. What happens if you get housed by 40? It's something to think about.
Is it? Is it, though? I don't think so. I don't think it's worth thinking about at all. I'm just trying to beat North Carolina.
Yeah. What an opportunity we have this Saturday, Jeff. Don't get your panties in a bunch about Alabama next year, Cameron. We got North Carolina this Saturday. Know your body, transform your life with my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. It is a science-backed health insight that you can use to work smarter, not harder. That DEXA scan will give you the most accurate body composition readings you've ever seen because it's measuring everything from muscle mass to where your visceral fat is to your bone density. You get to track that progress, real progress. You can do the VO2 max. You can get the red light therapy, which soothes muscles, reduces inflammation, rejuvenates your skin too. Lots of ways to kind of get a handle on your health here by knowing exactly what's what with your body composition. And you get that through a DEXA scan. Right now, you can get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99 because you listen to this show and they are reaching out to you through me. $99, normally $200, thereabouts. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body, transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Daytime highs approaching 85. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 63 tonight. Mainly clear skies. Daytime highs approaching 84 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 80 degrees.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
Warning. Amendment 4 overturns Florida's parental consent law, so a minor could undergo an abortion without a parent's.
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti. Right,
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape, and
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Let's see here. That question is from Napatal. Is that right? Do I see that right? What in order do you fix? What's first? I had the bonus hour yesterday that was right after Seminole headlines, and I always pre-record that hour before I come in and meet the fellas for the 2 hours that we're live in here. And I talked about this a little bit, maybe not directly, but it's in essence your question. And that is that you have to start with yourself. And it's the hardest thing in the world to do, is to ask the really hard questions of yourself about where your blind spots are. What is it you didn't see? What is it you're not seeing that could have ever led to this? And I think that's the hardest part, because if you can get a handle on that, the rest is really, I think, in a weird way, quite simple. I know it's heavy lifting, and I know there's a lot in the process that takes place that is cumbersome and stressful and expensive. But if you got a handle on where you failed and where you're consistently failing, which led to these oversights, led to, the blind spots that you obviously, by definition, didn't see. And, trying to wrangle those, I'm sure he's been doing it as he lays in bed every night of this season. I have said repeatedly that although I'm angry, just like you're angry, and that there are people who are much angrier than we are, and those are the people that have stroked big checks for things like NIL, people who have given tons of money, more money than you and I will ever see, because they have a great passion for their university and this football program, and they believed in Mike, and they gave that money willingly, because they wanted to see it work, and this is what's happening. They're very angry, and those people are beginning to speak up. It's all true. It's coming to a crescendo right now. It's only going to get worse with each passing defeat. The sinking realization of where we're at. For many, hits at a different time. But I think Mike has to start there. And I think what's difficult is a lot of times when you're trying to make changes within yourself, on the example I gave yesterday in the bonus hour was, usually there's a trigger. Now this one's easy to find. It's called 7 losses in 8 games. There's your trigger. I've got to do some soul searching, guys. I don't know about you all, but I think this is messed up. We're not doing real well. I got to think about why that is. So he's probably had that happen long before now. It's not probably. He certainly has. Probably by about week 3 or 4, he was thinking, missed the boat on this one. Did not think this was what was going to be. However, it is. And probably started rat trapping a little bit, because panic usually happens. Putting out fires everywhere before you can get a real handle on things and before you resign to what is, right? And the problem is that in your personal life, say you do something you wished you hadn't done, I don't know, or you didn't do something you wish you did do, or you weren't there for somebody and for some frivolous reason, and then you realize, I'm not being the best friend I could be, or husband I could be, or dad I could be, or whatever it is, coworker. You pick it, okay? We've all been there. We've all had these crisis of confidence in moments where it's led to change. But those things lead you down a path where you have an inner circle of people that you trust and whom you respect. And a lot of times, those are the people you're going to go to, where you're going to say, "Can I talk to you seriously about something?" I don't want this to be a cursory conversation. I want us to get really honest with each other. And you would ask your best friend, and you would ask your mom and dad, and you would ask your brother and sister, and you would ask your coworkers, whatever it was, who is he going to ask? Who is he going to talk to? Whose opinion about football operations, the way practice is run, the way you evaluate players and recruit, the way you optimize the transfer portal, the way that you call plays, the way that you put together game plan, who's he going to talk to? Many of those men are on his staff. These are the people he's going to have to let go because they've failed him. So I find that part of it the most challenging, that he's going to have to, I'm sure he's got several mentors and confidants. We know his coaching tree, so you could go back and look and see maybe some of those people are the folks that he would reach out to. I think I would be tempted to go outside of my coaching tree. I think I'd want a different lens within the football community to talk to me about my process, as much as they could figure from what they're seeing on game days or what they've seen when they've visited. It's easy to sit here and say, well, you could call a Nick Saban. You probably could, but I don't know that they have any sort of existing relationship. But there's somebody whose football acumen and whose success within this field is worth reaching out to assess what he sees regarding your operations in your program and how it manifests on Saturdays. You can glean a lot from those things, and I'm especially football coaches who've been in it, who've been in the business. They get the behind-the-scenes stuff. They get what it means to run a team. They get what it means to be the head guy. So you can talk to somebody like that and say, look, this is how I do this, this, and this, and here's what I thought was right. We had success. What do you see now? Is there anything glaring that is standing out to you that I'm just maybe not seeing? But you got to go about that process. I brought up the fact that the last big time, public mea culpa that we saw from a coach, and you kind of roll your eyes, but it was a really well-written story, and it was interesting. It was fascinating because it truly was a mea culpa. It was a guy falling on the sword saying, it was working until it wasn't. And I was blind to some things and I got it wrong and I need help. And that was Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. After that godforsaken season where he was this close to getting fired, whether it was 8 games, 9 games, whatever it was. You remember that was the piece, I think it was a Yahoo piece or Sports Illustrated, whatever it was, in which he basically admitted, I started with myself. I wanted to get in better shape. I began to eat better and lose weight and get more rest and work out. And then I began to do yoga. And then I began to sit down with my players and eat lunch with them. I invited every one of them in, including graduating seniors who I felt like I had betrayed, and had them sit across from me and tell to me straight with no repercussions. What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you think I could do better? Had his assistant coaches, some of whom he let go, but still wanted to know their thoughts on his program and what he got right and what he got wrong and what drastically needed to change. Asked his wife, this is that kind of season. This is that kind of season where you would be inclined to have a total reset, where you would say, okay, I know I can coach. I wouldn't have won 19 straight if I couldn't. I wouldn't have had the successes I did at Memphis and then turning this program around if I couldn't coach. But also, those successes have clearly masked some real failures and problems within my process.
I think the first place you start, that he'll probably start, would be on the offensive line. But it wasn't just something that you look at the transfer portal moves they make and you say, oh, they think they can block. Like, no, he went out and he said it. So everything that's involved with the failure there, what he believes it was a reason for the miscalculation, needs to be revised and or cut out. I think that's the first place you go. The second place you go after that, and whatever those steps are, it's up to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a 1-7 roster. We can argue about how talented it was relative to our expectations before the season, but Las Vegas isn't in the business of losing money by week 5 on a season-long bet on a win total in the future. And they had us at 9.5, depending upon where you got it. You could say that even Vegas was too bullish on the roster. But you tell me that this group is a 2-win roster, a 3-win roster? It's not. It's not a 3-win roster. So what's involved in that failure as well? Like, it's all about, I believed that we could do X because of Y. Define what that is, and then that's the thing that you've got to attack first. Now, again, whether that's firings or changes to methods, it's up to him. And
I think it's a combination of both for sure.
I hope it's both.
It has to be.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the two big things that he hinged the season upon that failed him, was an assessment of the offensive line that could not be more opposite from true, and then also a group that's not 1-7 bad. How'd they get that bad? Anything that touches that has to be addressed and either removed or revised.
Shannon Young, loansfornoles.com. I talk about him every day. He does a great job for many of you out there in this community, really throughout the entire Southeast. Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. He's asking these same questions about process every day as well. He's diehard Nole, but he's really, really, really good at what he does, and that is making sure that you get into that piece of property you've always wanted, or you sell the one you have, or, in fact, you save a lot of money and use the equity in your home. Either way, find out more. Shannon Young, loansfornoles.com. That's loanfornoles.com.
AC and electric is what we do.
Is your air conditioner operating at maximum efficiency? Is it tuned up and inspected to help prevent a summer breakdown? Now that we're in the middle of the Tallahassee heat, it's important that your answer is yes to both of those questions, because you need the system running smoothly to help keep power bills down, and you definitely don't want a breakdown with a 105-degree heat index. Contact Parker Services today and learn about their Peak Performance membership. It's a low-cost way to keep your AC tuned and catch potential problems before they happen. And there are many other benefits, including priority service and a 15% discount on repairs. Call Parker Services today, and you'll enjoy peace of mind within a few days. CMC 050334 and EC 1301240.
Surprising flavors, cultural authenticity, and unique adventures are some of the main ingredients that go into every single plate served at Café de Martín, Tallahassee's best Peruvian dining experience. Led by classically trained Chef Martín, passion for culture, passion for flavor, and a passion for people can be felt from the moment you step inside. Café de Martín also offers an unparalleled outdoor dining experience in the garden. Surrounded by vibrant flowers and plants, and nestled between carefully curated decor, the shaded and breezy outdoor garden features elegant live music regularly, and the romantic evening lighting makes Café de Martín the best place to share conversation and connect with the ones you love. Every dish is made from scratch, and every drink is handmade by trained bartenders, offering the very best margaritas and old fashions in the city. Take a trip to a Peruvian paradise right here in the capital city. Visit Café de Martín and El Bar on Capitol Circle Northeast in the Esposito Shopping Center. Open daily for lunch, happy hour, and dinner. Find the full menu online at cafedemartin.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3, brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Jacksonville Jaguars are trading Cam Robinson. He goes to the Minnesota Vikings as the Vikings are sending draft pick compensation back to Jacksonville. Robinson was a second-round pick in 2017, and he has spent his entire career with Jacksonville. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin had surgery to repair his dislocated ankle, and he is saying that there is a possibility he could return this season, even though all indications are that he is done for the year. Buccaneers are getting ready for a game against Kansas City coming up on Monday night. Also this weekend, the Miami Dolphins, they travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. This Sports Flash is brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun, and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the third bite, you get the idea. The boss of breakfast burritos, gotta be Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
Pinch a Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number 1, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number 2, Pinch a Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection. With automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number 3, they have the best prices, of course. Plus you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
we doing bets? But I say that all the time. It is a Ballsmick Wednesday, and you are listening, and I appreciate that. And I doff the cap to all of you for doing just that. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. Let's have some fun with it. Let's have some fun with it while we can. I think we got plenty serious last hour. Nothing morbid or anything like that. We're just talking about the soul searching that has to take place when you're failing at your job or any realm of your life where it requires you to seriously take a good hard look, magnifying glass, to everything you're doing. It'd be an interesting process. If he comes out the other side, I will tell you this. Imagine if he gets it fixed. I mean, listen, we already know what it looks like when it's bad. We've got overwhelming evidence. It's not good. This is it. This is what it looks like. This is awful. And I'll always realize that's in you. You've got that in you. You can, when you go south, you can be really bad. You can be like worst team in the country kind of bad. Ha ha. It's that meme of the guy who's laughing and then holds up the Drano. And then he laughs and he holds up a noose, and then he laughs and he holds up a knife. And you're like, ha ha. That's us watching Florida State football right now. You're like, ha ha. Oh, no, seriously, you could be the worst in the country. Got it. Yeah, they could be that bad. But good could be undefeated. could be 12-0, conference champion. And if not for a screw job, playoff appearance. So, there's that too.
Yeah, if he fixes it, he gets all the way back, we'll know that he's made of unbelievable brass ones, because of the first time never being able to get off the ground and then being 0-4. Like, you're just dead and buried before you had a chance to get the machine going. And he said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stick to my principles, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
And he was right. Now, he did have the portal to help.
He still does.
But the portal is still there.
And it's also used differently by a lot of people now than it was at the time that he beat them to the punch. And it's of grave concern.
It is. That is a new limiting factor to saying, well, they can just flip it. Well, money can do that. Money could do that. But I don't know about portal techniques that are unique to Florida State versus somewhere else. I still think they're good at it. But now here's the problem is anytime you talk to a high school recruit or a portal entry, you're doing so after a 2-win season or a 3-win season.
I brought that up
You've
yesterday.
made it so much harder on yourself than the first time around when you could rightfully claim, this is somebody else's mess that I'm cleaning up. And I'm telling you, I'm doing it. Now he has to say, well, I failed, but I need you to work with me because I've seen it from the depths to the heights before. In this very building, I've taken it from the depths to the heights. It's my mistake this time, but I need you to ride with me. I need you to trust me. It's a tough pitch, but it's a pitch you got to make along with a briefcase and say, also open up that briefcase.
It's also really interesting because some of what is going to be required of him now to overcome these failures that, unlike before, as you correctly pointed out, he could have just said, hey, I inherited this mess. It was the tail end of Jimbo's time at Florida State, followed by the never really getting started time of Willie Taggart's tenure at Florida State. And when I walked through the door, we were immediately involved in a pandemic. So I was up against it. I turned it around. He could say that, and he could say it with a straight face, and he wouldn't have to embellish. All those things were true, 100% true. He does not have that excuse to fall back on now. And people will always use it against him in the world of recruiting. Certainly, it'd be an easy thing to do. If I'm recruiting against Florida State, I'm hammering that point home. You want to go play for that guy? You trust him? You've seen what he's capable of. It's an easy pitch to a recruit. And then you throw in the fact that he's also in the ACC, which is an inferior league. And it's been demonstratively proven to be an inferior league. So much so that the committee itself made an omission in their playoff roster of Florida State as an undefeated, untied, if you will, from back in the day, conference champion of a Power 5 conference. Yeah, we don't think you're good enough. You're in that sorry-ass league.
We're going to move a team from 7 up to 3.
Yeah.
Because that's how little we believe in you.
Right. So they've got a lot of strikes against them, and that will be used well. by other teams recruiting against him from outside this league. Now, within the league, they can't do that. Like, Miami can't use that against you. They're going to have to use what just happened, and they're going to have to point to their success recently, and they've got it rolling down there. And Mario's always been a good recruiter. It's his greatest strength. So you are up against that within the league. You're up against it with Clemson, because as it's turning out now, Dabo's gonna have the last laugh here for a moment. I mean, they're good. They're really good. And he's done his thing his way. And, I think that probably falling back into favor with a lot of recruits. And so you've got a lot of things to overcome. But what I was going to say was that the thing you're asking him to do involves relationship building and trust. And where they have failed in the high school preps is those relationships, They have not been able to foster those relationships to get the yeses that they need from the 5-star high-caliber kids when the day was at hand. Those players left. They did not sign with Florida State. The last second guys, they left, and they were the bedrock of a class, and they failed you. Your assistants didn't have those relationships because they didn't work hard enough in recruiting. And you could probably say then, by extension, that he did not work hard enough in recruiting, that Mike Norvell didn't prioritize it enough so that you couldn't fall. So you could lose 10 guys and still fall back on a baseline of talent that wouldn't see this disaster. And so he's going to have to get better at that. Now, he's fully capable of that. He's a people person. He's a guy who really, really loves, and this is my favorite aspect of who he is. Mike loves football, and he loves football players. He was one himself. He credits it in many ways for kind of creating the life that he has, and I don't want to go as far as to say save his life, but, those mentors, those men that coached him early on, he's referenced many times as being very influential in his life. So he gets it. I think most coaches do. A lot of coaches have a savior complexes, but most coaches get the role football played in all these young men's lives. You spend so much time together on a football field sacrificing, and it creates a real bond. And if you can tap into that because you've lived it, and he has, and you've worked it, and he has, then maybe you've got a chance to salvage something in that realm early on with just enough guys to kind of get you over the hump, get back on your feet. Now, you're also going to have to do the more straightforward thing, which is to overpay for transfer portal players. You're going to have to also do that.
And you need new pitchmen to work for you and on your behalf. How many of them is up to Mike, but you need new people on the trail, because if the same old folks walk out there with FSU laundry to go talk to a kid in South Georgia or South Florida or wherever they'd go in their territories, it's just going to fall on deaf ears. This is the thing where I hear you on the high school recruiting element of the failure, but high school recruiting is not your way out of this critical issue that you're facing.
No, we're talking about the operations, all of it.
Yeah. I hope that what we see is enough change to all the methods that you're touching each level of the program, but you have such a fire raging right now that we can't be thinking about the kind of countertops we want in our kitchen. You got to put the fire out, and the only way to do that is to hit the portal hard. And unfortunately, we've been criticized for being too portal dependent, but the portal is the oxygen you're breathing right now. That's the only reason you're still going, is because the portal can help you in 2025 get to a place where you can hopefully long-term right this wrong.
Well, what's interesting, you'll see this, and I've seen it in the chat, I see it on the message boards, I see it on Twitter, I see it in my email inbox, I see it everywhere. When people have decided they're out on you, and they'll make declarative statements that you can never do this, or you will never do that, or he's too stubborn to do this, or too stubborn to do that. Experiences dictate that. A lot of us have become something we weren't 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. A lot of us have had things happen in our lives that dictated change. A lot of us had something happen that changed our perspective on an issue or a person or what we were willing to do or not do in certain situations. So the idea that when I hear somebody say, well, he just won't do it, I want to scream BS. He either will or he won't. We'll find out for ourselves. But to surmise that he will not do the very thing that would allow him to save his career is silly. He has no choice This isn't a whimsical, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I feel like purchasing those plane tickets and going to Hawaii this summer. Then again, we could really use that money for a new roof. This isn't that. This is, look, dude, you have failed in a way that is so profound, you're nearly without employment. You're only employed now because of the extension you got last year and the season that you were able to put together. You deserve credit for that. It is saving you after this most disastrous of seasons for another year. But you only get another year. You can't do this again. You can't go through something that even resembles this again. Ever again.
I would agree. Barring something terribly unforeseen, he gets next year. So, if you are the type to say, well, he's not going to get it done, then leave and come back in a year and let's see. But he's going to get the shot. So we're talking about what is to come. Barring something unforeseen, he's going to get a crack at it. You might not believe he can. And if you think it's a waste of time that we're doing this, then go and watch basketball.
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
He's going to get a crack at it. And how can he do it?
Now,
how can you do it? How can you strategize to keep going, to stay in the ring, and then try to make it that you have two unbelievable reclamations to your resume in the span of 5-6 years at Florida State, where you were at 0-4, you got back to 19 straight. You went 1-7. We'll see where the season goes. And you get Florida State back to the precipice of playing for a conference championship and a berth into the college football playoff. How does he do it? The odds are against him. He's an underdog.
I think the odds are against him.
No doubt.
That conversation is allowed to happen too.
Sure.
I got no problem with the person that says to me, I don't think he can do it. Okay, fair enough.
That is totally fair. And the betting odds, I put it on the boards today. There was a conversation on the boards about it. I said, he's an underdog. It's within the scope of his capabilities to do this, to pull it off. I believe that personally.
Okay.
I think it's within his power to do it. He's got to get lucky along the way. You need some bounces to go your way. You need some evals to go your way. Diamonds in the rough to appear.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
You
developments
need somebody,
that are unforeseen.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You're going to bring in a player that is not going to be a star on the recruiting trail because you're not going to get a bunch of 5-star kids right now. So you better get a transfer in from, say, I don't know, William and Mary that nobody sees coming, and the kid turns into a second-round draft pick at safety. And you're like, oh, geez, I got that one right. Something like that's going to have to happen.
And you're going to need a bounce like the blocked extra point against LSU. I don't think last year happens, the 13-0, without that blocked extra point. You lose that football game?
Yeah.
If you lose that football game, man,
what's going to happen, right?
These guys aren't coming back for another year. The battle's end wouldn't be able to throw enough money at them because it could have death spiraled, but you got the break, and that's the whole point. Is he's going to need that off the field?
This is the last time Shaheem Brown made a play.
He's going to need that break on the field as well. He's going to need a game where the opponent fumbles the ball 3 times and they're, top 15 in the country. And you're like, whoa, what does he have going on here? It's possible. And he's going to get the crack at it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, but you do understand, and you just said as much.
He's an underdog.
And yeah, because it's not just that he's an underdog, and he is. It's that you can make a really good case that he's not going to be able to come back from this. That you can take the other side of it and say,
all I'm saying is if you're of the mindset that you're an absolutist and you're saying it's a waste of time, then what are you doing here? Then just don't even bother. I agree. It's unlikely. It's more likely that he can't pull it, that he does not pull it off. I just think I think he's shown that he can. Now he's made his own mess this time, but we'll see.
I would love, and if he does find a way to get it turned around, and we're having, fast forward 3 years from now, you're in your 40s. And I'm saying, can you believe it? This team's got a good chance to win 11 games this year, 10 games this year. If the ball bounces right, they might go undefeated again. They're they're this, and they're this, and it's all glowing terms. If that's happening, we will have to reflect on this godforsaken season in a way that we cannot even picture now. Like I'd like to put myself in that mindset, but we won't even know because we'll be so surprised. There'll be so many things that happen along the way, check marks along the way. We're like, oh, is it happening? Look at this. They caught a break. They got this. This happened, and this happened. But it doesn't seem likely. And that's the thing that I said at the beginning of this week, and I hated to have to say that. I think, look, if we weren't in the ACC, there's a very good chance he'd get fired this year. even with all that money owed. But they don't have an extra 30 or 40 million annually coming in to take care of the bill. They would if they were in the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think it's more about the incoming hire that you'd have to make and that money more than it is the buyout. You can structure the buyout. Now, we just got done paying Willie for however many years.
Yeah.
You finance it, you break it out. You could do that in this situation, but you got to pay a whole new staff to come in.
But this is a lot. This isn't 18 million. This is 64 million. And you're hugely in debt with all that you're doing with the facilities. So you've added some elements that weren't there before.
Of course, agreed. And I think also the cost of the incoming staff is a big part of that, because then on your ledger for next year, those guys don't want deferred money, so that all of that would have to be up front. That's a big reason why he's getting a crack at it. We'll see what he can do with it. I don't think there's a zero chance. I don't think. You said dead man walking a couple of years ago.
I said before the 10-win season, if he didn't have the year that he did, he would be a dead man walking. And I think I was right about that. And luckily, he had a 10-win season.
I don't think that's the case for next year. I don't think he's a dead man walking. I don't think it's a fait accompli and we're playing it out. I don't think that's the case next season. I think there's a chance.
Yeah, there'll be a moment where you'll decide whether that is true or not true.
But that's not now.
It
will occur next year. It will occur next season on the field. Yeah. Oh, you're willing to pull that lever next month?
No, I'm saying that I can hear people saying, I disagree with you, Tom. I think we are watching this happen right now. And there is a valid argument for that.
Sure.
You're also not wrong to say he's got better than a zero chance of turning this round because of the era we're playing in now. It is not like before. You do have a shot. You also play in this sorry-ass league.
Yes.
So, again, you are benefiting from playing in this sorry league. So if you have a modicum of talent and you do turn it around from a coaching standpoint and get a handle on the things that were wrong within your program and the way that you operate, the systemic issues we're talking about, if you get that fixed, yeah, you could win 8 games next year. If you win 8 games a year after winning 2, you're not getting fired.
Yeah, this is the difference. Like I'm saying he can, but if you ask me, do you think he will? My answer is I don't know. Maybe.
It's an I don't know, man, with a hint of I don't think so is what that sounds like.
Yeah, it's possible. It's like asking for a 7-yard run on first down right now. Like we could.
I suppose if somebody slips,
that's right.
There's a chance he can run for 7 yards.
A little read option. A couple guys fall down. Now we might fumble the ball, but we could get to 2nd and 3.
Pitch a Pity Pools and Spas have everything you need for pool maintenance: chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers, everything. We all know they have the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the entire city, which means you can easily finance, making these amazing hot tubs affordable for just about anybody. That's a good thing. They even have the big 5-seater for you swingers out there that I keep selling. They make it easy. Go check them out. If you got an old tub, they'll haul it away, give you some money towards the new tub for it. And you don't have to worry about the hassle of trying to get the tub out of there.
Just give the 5-seater to the new offensive line. We want you guys to conduct your mental reps in the 5-seater from Pinch a Penny.
Go check it out. It's over off of Greer Street.
That's right. Pick whatever one you want.
Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. If you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how.
Your friendly neighborhood bar and grill just got a whole lot closer to home. You can now order delicious Smitty's Tap House and Grill for delivery directly to your doorstep. Just visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com, click the Order Online button, and choose Pickup or Delivery. Enjoy Smitty's famous handmade pretzel with beer cheese, juicy pub burger, or even the amazing schnitzel sandwich, delivered fresh right to your doorstep. Support local and order online today for takeout or delivery at Smitty'sTapHouse.com, where everybody knows his name.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, and both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
I'm attorney Carrie Roan with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people that we represent that when they share their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners didn't believe their story. That's why you need an attorney who has your back no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing that you're telling the truth. We are Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limit. NMLS number 373033.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
No, Kev Rice, Norvell tells the recruit, I'm so good, I can turn around a huge program. Recruit smiles. Then Norvell leans in and whispers, I'm so damn good, I can then destroy it again and bring it back again. Dun, 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 dun. I would maybe leave out the destroy it part. To the recruit. It's a funny missive for the show today, though. Hog Watcher, I know how disappointed you were in no 4 hours. That was the lock of the week, by the way. Should, as FSU fans, do we need to stomach pride and root for SMU to finish 11-1, UM 12-0, and Clemson 12-1, beats UM in the ACC Championship game and potentially 3 ACC teams in the playoffs? By the way, there is a very interesting scenario on that point, which is that as it sits today, because of the tiebreakers, and this is as it sits today, this will change. This is a fluid situation. But Tom, did you know that the tiebreaker currently being used in the situation with those 3 teams is one that would see Clemson out of the ACC championship game? Currently, it would be SMU versus Miami.
Ugh.
If tomorrow the conference championship game were to be played.
Can they schedule the World Baseball Classic for that weekend?
Hey, buddy, you know how much I love a good World Series Baseball Classic game, and I will go because it's coming up soon, isn't it?
Miami SMU? Oh, no, sir.
Well, it's based on win percentage of conference opponents right now. But these teams will get spikes, and some of them will get demerits as they play more conference games.
I thought they were going to give them leeway to if the college football rankings were higher for one team, it gives
To
them
choose?
I thought that was a provision that was being built in there.
It was before. I don't think it is anymore.
Okay.
They're on the 5th tiebreaker right now if we go into this, and it's
Jeez.
this win percentage of conference opponents is what it is.
I had no idea what the ACC tiebreaker situations were for Charlotte because sadly I had to cancel my hotel reservation for Charlotte.
Well, remember, you got SMU and Pitt this weekend, and again, it's going to be seen by nobody because it's on the ACC network, and you have 2 top 20 teams playing one another. Meanwhile, you can get any 2 slapdicks you want out of the SEC to play each other, and you'll get a noon, 3:30, prime time, you name it, on all the major networks.
Joe Test with you here.
Oh.
Unbelievable. Arkansas, Kentucky.
Speaking of which,
National implications abound.
there's something happening that doesn't seem quite right at Kentucky. And they have fallen off a cliff after narrowly losing to Georgia and then beating Ole Miss. So you think about it, their 2 toughest opponents at the time, they'd beaten one, lost to the other by a point, and they may, win 1 conference game? There needs to be an investigation.
It just shows you how deep of a conference the SEC is.
Here's a fun one for all Florida fans. Would you say yes to this proposition? You get to beat Georgia on Saturday.
Ooh.
You won't win another game, but you'll beat Georgia, and it means that Napier keeps his job.
Oh, man. Wait a minute. No, I think that last part has them squarely in one corner, which is...
All right, how about this? You get to beat Georgia and Florida State. You lose the other 3, and Napier gets to keep his job.
They would take that. But I would think the easiest one is you get to beat Georgia, you don't win any other games, and Napier gets fired and you keep Lagway. They're like, yeah, all right, sign me up for all that.
Well, I kind of love the idea of one or the other. It's just like, all right, man, I'll give you the win over Georgia. You know you want that win. It's an arch rival. Many Florida fans hate Georgia way, way more than they hate Florida State. So I'll give you that win on ABC, 3:30, the country watching. And then you lose to Texas by a gazillion. You lose to LSU. You lose to Ole Miss. In short, your season's going nowhere. And then you get to beat Florida State. And you are what at that point? 6-6? Yeah. 6-6 with the schedule that they had, given the season they thought they were going to have. With a win over Georgia and Florida State, they would take it. And even if it meant Napier was back, baby, for another year of substandard football in Gainesville. You would, because it would be, unfortunately, truthfully, trending in the right direction. It'd be trending in the right direction because you would have gone 6-6 against a schedule that we all agreed was the toughest in the country, and that you would be doing that with a quarterback that looks to be a star on the rise.
Wouldn't have done it with Mertz.
No. Mertz. They would not have.
2nd and 9.
3rd and 6.
Mertz is 2 for 2 on the drive.
But yeah, that's what you would have had. Hell, this might not even be a discussion right now if my man had just gone for 2 against Tennessee. But as it is, his job is still in the balance, many people think. I would think that the administration might differ with the fan base on this one. I think they've probably seen enough. Obviously, they didn't show up against Miami, and they quit in the second half of that game. They got blown out. They were not competitive for the vast majority. I know the score doesn't necessarily show this, but they were not competitive against Texas A&M. But something happened somewhere along the way. Maybe it was just the gift that is the opportunity to play Mississippi State. But they beat the brakes off of Mississippi State. And then they turned around and they got the gift of facing Gus Malzahn and hammering UCF, which a lot of people had as a loss going into that game, and they won going away. I think they won by 11 points that game. And all of a sudden, there's beginning to be a little bit of belief. The players are playing harder. Then you had the overtime loss to Tennessee, where, again, if they had just gone for 2, probably would have won that game. They'd be on a 4-game winning streak if they had. And they obviously housed Mark Stoops in Kentucky, 48-20. There's a chance that's a game in the fourth quarter on Saturday. All you got to do is look at Georgia, who nearly lost to Kentucky, really kind of struggled with Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's also an interesting spot for Georgia because they play Ole Miss next week. So you have a rivalry game, but then you have a better opponent on the horizon coming out of the bye week. It's a weird spot. Plus, Georgia has shown to be, like you said, they're vulnerable.
Yeah, Georgia's been weird.
They've not been dominant as their recruiting rankings should suggest.
Well, what they've done is they've just kind of half-assed some performances, and then
it's a culture problem. They're in the cars speeding around town too much.
Except for when they're beating the hell out of Texas at Texas, 30-15. Really, they were done in by a horrible half against Alabama that they nearly came all the way back from. Because remember, they also beat the hell out of Clemson. They're really good. They're really, really good.
They're woefully inconsistent. If you have championship aspirations and if you were on Athens Talk Radio, come on now. If you're on Athens Talk Radio,
I would say, at it
we'll see which Georgia shows up. Is it the one that showed up against Mark Stoops in Kentucky? The one that wasn't prepared to play against Jalen Milroe after being embarrassed by them? Last year, in our home stadium away from home in Atlanta, we got smoked by Milroe, and that's why we didn't win a national championship last year.
Yeah, I think I would have some of those takes, yes, because we would be looking at it as ultimately we're playing for national titles around here. You can't be half-stepping. But in the era of a 12-team playoff, I might not be as aggressive because they're going to the playoff.
Right, yeah. That's the thing now is you can take weeks off.
You can. It's like sport. The NFL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's only going to happen more, too. Because remember, it's 14 in a year or two before they get to 16.
I would say there's a growing problem for SEC teams, though, and that is that you do have these 3 undefeated teams in the or the conference undefeated teams in the ACC. You got a situation. Miami, Clemson has a loss to Georgia, but not in the conference, and then you have SMU. And by the way, the Big 12's got a couple of teams that may very well end up playing one another at the end of the year. Say BYU and K-State or BYU. They got a few teams that. Indiana may steal a bid, by the way. What if Indiana goes 11-1 and you've got a 3-loss SEC team out there trying to get into the playoff?
What market? This is the same question.
I'm just letting you know, man. It may end up being pretty difficult they thought they were going to get 4 in at the start of the year for sure. They may be looking at best case scenario 3. And God help them if they fool around and see some other kind of a weird loss. Let's say Bama loses again. Out. Get the hell up out of here. No playoff for you.
Maybe.
Gone.
Well, they got to play Auburn at the end of the year. Don't you understand how difficult that is?
LSU already has 2 losses. I mean, they can't afford to have Tennessee drop another game, and they look like they're very susceptible to dropping another game.
Well, Lewis Riddick will tell you how strong Nico's arm is. Oh, look at this power of this arm. I know it was incomplete again.
Texas A&M is not who they want in that playoff. You damn outsiders are going to take our spot. Go on, get.
So they're excluding Elko too?
Yes.
He may kind of look like us, but he's not one of us.
Fat, out of shape. That's fit right in around here. But damn it.
Something about that name I don't like. Elko.
Ain't very Southern, is it? It's Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. High temperatures reach up to 85. Easterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies with fog at times. Tonight, lows around 65. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. And foggy early tomorrow, highs around 84. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 80 degrees.
Hey, let me
tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Searching for the best place to host an event for your friends and family? The Golf Club at Summerbrook is more than just a place for a round of golf. It's also one of the best choices for hosting and celebrating the most special days in your life. From rehearsal dinners and baby showers to corporate banquets and kids' birthday parties, you'll receive amazing personal service and attention to every detail when you choose the Golf Club at Summerbrook. Find out how affordable it can be and call us today at 850-894-GOLF. That's 850-894-GOLF.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. You two at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Apologies if this has been asked, but as Jeff would say, sweet Jesus, can we see what Danzy has? Not just one or two plays. That's from Scott. Yeah, I mean, there was a moment last week, and Ira brought this up as well. Look, it was something to behold when you looked out there and you went, good Lord, there was an awful lot of, freshman talent out there. And I don't mean that as in like, oh, they're all going to be stars, but like everywhere you look, you're like, that's a freshman, that's a freshman, that's a freshman. So he definitely went all in.
For a few plays. Right. And you're burning one of your four. Like, I mean, he was asked about red shirts this week and he didn't answer the question. So
I don't think you can worry about red shirts because you don't know that you're going to be here to see them play in 2 years from now. You got, I mean, if somebody can help you right now, I understand players care about their red shirt and players' parents care about their red shirt. But if you think a guy can help you win right now, unless you have some assurances. But do you really have an assurance that you would believe? I mean, maybe you do. Maybe there's a father that you've spoken to who would say, Coach, don't waste my kid's red shirt this year. By the way, we're not going anywhere. We're happy here. We believe in you. We like our NIL deal. I'm not going to leave just because we preserve the red shirt. Maybe you have that. It's more likely you don't have that across the board.
No, and you have to field these types of conversations from
Absolutely,
all the time. I mean, you even said it an example. If your son plays somewhere for college and, it's not going well and he wants to transfer and it's,
3 games.
He's played 3 games and it's Halloween. You're like, hey, coach.
Yeah, it's slow our roll.
Here's what's going to happen. I don't want to go to social media and make an announcement, but give him one more game. Now, I don't know if Danzy saw the field against Miami. Do you remember him getting on the field against Miami? I do not. Florida State has not updated their
They got to do a better
Their
job with
season-
that, by the way.
Hey, man, I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I'm just, damn it, man. Get it together.
So they have everything up to Duke, and he's played in one game. So I would just start to count, because for Duke it was for Clemson is the game that he played. They had the wheel route schemed up for him a couple of times, and I think you might have gotten one carry.
I remember when they were implementing that in practice. Since it's already happened, we can talk about it.
was
Since
open.
I mean, and he made a great catch, by the way, in practice. Believe it or not, this is true. In practice, they ran that play that they had schemed up for him against Clemson, and he made a great over-the-shoulder catch on a perfectly thrown ball. It exists. These moments, these pockets of success at practice, that did happen.
It was a bit of an underthrow last in the game itself, and there was a drop too. You can adjust and make that catch, and he's got decent hands at least. I don't want to do the Morlock thing, but in practice, BJ Gibson has participated in 2 games, Clemson and Miami. We saw him out there with the 3 wide receiver set last week, and Elijah Moore has participated in 2 games as well. So you're running out of bullets here if these kids want to keep their shirts.
I thought my man was about to get decapitated on the one throw.
Oh, dude.
To Elijah Moore. Oh.
Going to end his career before it starts?
I know. That's tough. That's the problem, though, Tom, when you play young guys. A veteran quarterback is never going to, well, I won't say never, is rarely going to lead a player into a situation like that.
His name is Ja'Cory Harris, he would.
That is true. It was glorious. But there is a time and a place. Now, there are times that pro quarterbacks will do that. 3rd and 13, down 3, have to have it. Sorry, brother. I'm letting it fly. You got to make this catch. You might die. Ask Cam Brate.
Every catch of his career.
Glad you went to Harvard. You're going to need some of those excess brain cells. You're taking an ass whooping every week.
As far as Amari Williams goes, was he on the field against Miami?
I think so, yes.
If he was, then he's at 4.
Well, just keep playing him. He's not staying all 4 years. Keep playing him. That dude's a stud. He's going to be a star. He actually, yes, he has a chance to be good.
Landon Thomas has played in every game, so that's not a concern there. Cam Davis, until he was hurt, played in every game. That's not a concern there. So most of those young guys, a couple of them, you have a little leeway to play with.
The Cam Davis is an interesting prospect. He's interesting in that there's moments every now and again you're like, oh, okay. But there's a lot more of the pedestrian than you'd like to see.
Not everybody has the Dalvin Cook ability to, if there's immediate penetration into the backfield, make 2 guys miss, Yeah. He does go down. It would seem easy at times.
For a guy that size.
That's
my complaint.
But
it's not even a complaint as much as it's like, I need to see a little bit more wiggle, too. He's a big man, but,
Once again, broken record. Seen some wiggle, some vision in practice.
Yeah, we can't block you.
Well, they don't go to the ground either, so maybe there's no fear. Maybe it's kind of the way that the quarterback proceeds. While a running back doesn't have a no-contact jersey on, they know they're not going to get driven to the ground and popped, so maybe you run a little bit freer in a practice setting because you know that it's not real. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to assess.
I would think that, listen, that'll translate. His vision's not terrible. He's a big, strong kid. He's only a true freshman. I'm not washing my hands of him. When we saw him, we thought, oh, man, this is where it's at.
It's got a shot. I mean, he's also converting. He's having to relearn because he was a quarterback in high school. So that does change angles, and the speed of the game's different. And again, you're under duress. The moment you touch the ball, there is a fear because I'm going to get hit immediately.
One of the things that got brought up, if you go to warchant.com and read Henshaw's house, Coach Henshaw always gets together with Ira and talks about the things that he sees with Florida State. And, of course, this is a man whose son played here, and he himself obviously coached at the highest level there in the NFL and was around the game forever as a player and coach, and very, very knowledgeable man. And a former play caller himself as well. And I like when he's weighing in on these things, and he talked about the play calling reevaluating your play calling and game planning and all those things. He points out something I've pointed out, so maybe this is why I really like it, is because he knows that he thinks Norvell's a good play caller. I keep coming back to this. I don't think it's been play calls. I think it's that they can't block. And if you can't block and you can't catch, call whatever the hell you want to call, you're screwed. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. There's too much evidence in the past of him being a good play caller. That said, I don't want to get into that debate. That's not really what I'm arguing here. What he brings up in this week's version of Henshaw's House is something that has bothered me, and some of this will be because of the young players that we're referring to. But this was happening before they were out there, and that is the asinine number of self-inflicted wounds. The silliness that we routinely see, substitution infractions, too many men on the field, lining up off sides, crucial penalties after the rare big play that you make.
Misfits on a basic run up the middle.
Really basic stuff. When he's talking about, unfortunately, we had some misfits. Why? Why did you have those misfits? Mistakes get made. Sometimes, though, if a player is guilty of those mistakes repeatedly, they just don't get back into the game. And moreover, it is much different when somebody is just better than you. I would not be complaining about these things if physically you got run past or over because somebody else had much better players than you. That happens. We see it all the time at the highest level. One team has better players than the other. Those better players make more plays than the ones that aren't as good, and that's how the game is won and lost. You live with it. That's fine. When you don't have a situation where that's what's happening, then you have a complaint that's fair, which is, how come you can't get lined up right? How come you can't communicate? How are we still having misfits in the run game? This was a straight ahead Miami offense. There was nothing complicated about what they were doing. Why was there confusion on those fits?
There's a line from the article I was trying to find, and I was just like, thank you. I agree, Coach, because Henshaw was talking about how Mike is much more patient than George himself is.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he's a much more positive person than I am, and I promise you, he's got way more patience than I would with some of these guys that are out there, some of these players, and maybe even some of these coaches. Right? The idea that, hey, man, how many times do you have to fail me before I'm going to call you to account? And I appreciate when a former coach at multiple levels
what I'm saying.
Says those things about, hey, if you're going to continue to screw up and on a player level, communication level, or a coach level, do I need to see that for 4 more games? Or do I need to move on from you? I'm putting a little bit of words in Coach Henshaw's mouth there, but I mean, the idea that in the coaching community, here's a guy who says he's more patient than I am. I wouldn't be this patient.
Well, he even goes on to say, but the problem was we made so many self-inflicted errors that we couldn't take advantage of situations. I'm sure that really bothers Coach Norvell. I know I would be mad as a hornet at some of the things that went on in that game. There's just no excuse for some of the mistakes we made in that game. This is a broken record. He has said this before. There are no excuses for continually lining up incorrectly, miscommunicating, missing run fits, lining up offsides. Any of those things are things that by week 8, 9, 10 of the season should be really, really rare.
Pitch and catch 3rd and 20 conversion.
Right, because there was a miscommunication.
How many times? How many times is enough?
I think, though, that definitely manifested itself in the reaction Mike had to his assistant coaches in this game. You know, Mike has always done a very, very good job. I'm calling this out because I think it's interesting, not to belabor the negativity. This is just fascinating to watch play out, and we all are watching this play out right before our eyes. Most of the time we want to shade them, but we are. And that is, Mike does not show up his coaches. He's very good about that. He goes out of his way to give them credit when they deserve credit as well. Most coaches that I've ever spoken to that have worked for Mike or with Mike like to do so because he shines the light on them when they perform well. Mike takes great pride in the amount of coaches that have gotten jobs that worked for him. He's a guy who uplifts coaches, does not tear them down. And he was livid. Papuchis and Fuller. He was mad at both of them. And we're seeing it with a little bit more regularity lately.
Well, there's it's management styles. It's not all the same, but it is kind of the same principle. You know, whether you're a $10 million coach or you're a manager of whatever small business or small operation is, there's two ways that you can manage. One way is to be a taskmaster like Nick Saban. You know who showed up as assistant coaches left and right?
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban. I mean, there's a montage of him going in on Lane Kiffin when Lane was the OC at
It was
Alabama.
awesome. I remember it.
And it's uncomfortable. But the same thing with the players. He shows up as players, and that's one method. You don't have to do it the way Nick Saban does it. He's a little bit old school. But, you know, you can either be the friend manager or you can be the hard ass. And maybe Mike is learning that I've got to be a bit more of a hard ass, you know, in terms of the way that I manage my people, not just the players. Because Mike's tough in practice. And Mike will criticize support staff. He'll criticize assistant coaches in practice if things aren't being done quick enough. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've heard it with our own ears.
Yeah, within the practice of within the structure of practice, he'll do that. I think every coach does that. If something's not done in a timely fashion, because you only have so much time with these guys each day. It's not pro football. You got to make the most of it. So they will, get mad about things like that. Every coach has done that we've seen.
But when it comes to sending messages through the media, quotes, all that kind of stuff, I mean, Mike doesn't engage in that. And I'm not saying he should. I'm just saying that when you go 1-7, you're going to reevaluate a lot of things about how you manage your style.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think it's interesting to watch the back and forth with that because he's not done that in the past. He's really highlighted guys. It shows you that, I see a lot of comments that Mike looks broken. Well, I don't know what other way he could look. I don't pile on. People think I do in other areas. That's fine. I don't pile on when it comes to the stuff that he says in interviews after a loss or the stuff that he says when his media availability happens and he's asked a pointed question about the disappointments. He's not going to have a nervous breakdown in front of you and just say, oh God, I know it's all so terrible. He's not going to do that. Final hour, fourth coming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Surprising flavors, cultural authenticity, and unique adventures are some of the main ingredients that go into every single plate served at Café de Martín, Tallahassee's best Peruvian dining experience. Led by classically trained Chef Martín, passion for culture, passion for flavor, and a passion for people can be felt from the moment you step inside. Café de Martín also offers an unparalleled outdoor dining experience in the garden. Surrounded by vibrant flowers and plants, and nestled between carefully curated decor, the shaded and breezy outdoor garden features elegant live music regularly, and the romantic evening lighting makes Café de Martín the best place to share conversation and connect with the ones you love. Every dish is made from scratch, and every drink is handmade by trained bartenders, offering the very best margaritas and old fashions in the city. Take a trip to a Peruvian paradise right here in the capital city. Visit Café de Martín and El Bar on Capitol Circle Northeast in the Esposito Shopping Center. Open daily for lunch, happy hour, and dinner. Find the full menu online at cafedemartin.com.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossing. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. But what they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher, and we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
WVFT Greater Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
Florida Georgia returns to Everbank Stadium on Saturday. The Bulldogs are the 16.5-point favorite. The total 52. North Carolina laying 2.5 at Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium. UCF a 6.5-point home favorite against the Arizona Wildcats. Jacksonville Jaguars plus 7.5 of the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. The total 45.5 at Lincoln Financial Field. Jaguars traded tackle Cam Robinson to Minnesota yesterday. He had made 91 starts in 8 seasons with the Jaguars. Coming up tonight, Game 5 of the World Series. Yankees another 48 favorite with Garrett Cole on the mound against Jack Flaherty and the Dodgers. Cash back for every bet with a GBank signature Visa card. VSIN.com/GBank. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
If I was to describe this sandwich in one word, I would say magical. Hi, this is Jamor. And the little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is that extra oomph. I go back and forth from the spicy filet to the original filet. I get into the sweetness of the honey, but then you have the extra kick from the spicy filet. The combination alone takes it over the top. It's award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Order for Jennifer C.
Is this my double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double hot, double whip, double sleeve?
Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine?
Hey, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Well, I do now.
Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, you just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
Did you say you're cutting me off?
You earn, we match. Unlimited cashback match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Pinch a Penny Pools has 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, locally owned, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Time to head out on our annual guys fishing trip. Wait, where's Jimmy?
He just texted me saying he has to swing by his storage unit to get a couple of things. And now there's a truck blocking him in and he won't be here for another hour.
That wouldn't have happened if he had just called Southeast Portable Buildings and got a unit right on his property.
I love mine. I have so much more space in my garage. Now I can finally park my truck in there.
Give them a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400, or visit them online for all their options at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Foreman, you look so twisted. What did you do now?
Well, Hank the alligator needed his teeth brushed, and when I bent over to give him a scrub, my back popped like an afternoon lightning storm in Florida. And now I can't even stand up.
You need to go to FinChiro.com and schedule your new patient appointment right away at FinChiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com.
I'm really busy. I don't want to leave Hank in the orange grove unattended for too long.
Fin Chiropractic will get you in right away, and they get to the cause of your problems. So go to FinChiro.com and make your new patient appointment. There's even an online discount.
Discount? That's a good thing because my purse is a little light since I bought Hank a new gold chain.
You have to take care of yourself if you want to be able to take care of your alligator, Hank. Make your appointment now. Go to FinChiro.com.
Well, hold my pina colada. I'm going to FinChiro.com.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Full programs. Radio from Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it on a Balls McWednesday. Appreciate you always. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. You're here. Hey. That's a good thing. Appreciate it. Thanks. We got a mess. You know what? I'll hold this up. I guess I can do that, right? Christopher, thank you so much. Sometimes the fine folks out there are awfully kind, and they send Tom and I well wishes for documenting this mess of a campaign and for entertaining them. And also, over the years, many of our listeners have become friends, people that we rather enjoy to run into and discuss life with, and this is one of those. Chris sends from San Diego that beer, Tom, just as he yesterday sent the Dos Artes. And I always appreciate that as well. But, he's kind of emblematic, representation. He wrote us a little note with it of many a fan this year who I feel terrible for. I think, and I don't, again, this is not, I don't think we're falling further into a free fall of sadness by continuing to document little moments like this, because this is the thing that they're up against that they're going to have to really figure out a way to combat. I'll give you the short version here, but Chris basically said, hey, the reason I sent this beer instead of delivering it to you in person, as I usually do, is I could not justify flying in to see a game with the product that we're putting on the field this year. He lives in California. It's a long flight. But this is a man who, by the way, has made this trip, this pilgrimage, if you will, to Tallahassee every year for 28 years in a row. And he's not going to do it this year. And he didn't want to not send us our beer that he normally brings from California.
Totally unnecessary, but
very sweet.
Yeah, appreciated. From the heart.
It's a delicious stout, and we will drink them. Tom and I will. They will not go without being drank. That said, I don't know. I've got that email 1,000 times over this year. It's a kind of an entirely different and fun conversation to have regarding something off the field, which is this very real problem of when you're not playing well, it doesn't take as long as people think for others to find other means of communication and ways to cope. So you can't let it linger. It can't be a thing where you're mired, as I like to say, face down in the muck for a prolonged period of time. You have to find a way to turn it around pretty quickly and give people I don't think people even need, look, you can get into intense arguments if your goal is to always be playing for championships. And I think that is the goal most of the time is when you're operating at peak efficiency, it is a chance to compete for titles. That's what you want to be doing. It's what we came into this season talking about. Like after you transition from the season they had a year ago, the thought was, well, now I'm going to compare and contrast what they are to the best teams in the country. So we thought they were good last year, but I didn't think they could win the national title. We even had some disagreement about that. But I thought they were obviously moving closer and closer to being a team that I would think has a chance to win a national title, and that was exciting. So we came into this year with that idea. There's the benchmark. Are you there? And we knew Georgia would be one of those teams. And then elsewhere, you're like, is it Oregon? Is it Ohio State? Is it Alabama? Who else? Is it Texas? We'll compare ourselves to those teams. Little did we know that we couldn't compare ourselves to those teams. In fact, we couldn't compare ourselves to teams that are ranked in the hundreds in some cases. But as sad as that is, and as depressing as that has been, it is a very real problem for the administration, which cannot see football fail. And I guess that is the one thing I do agree with many of you about who have scolded me for being overly downtrodden, I guess, when talking about the chances that this gets turned around. Because they can't afford to fail, they won't, is sort of the argument that people make. They have too much invested in specifically this football program. It's the same argument, frankly, that was used in favor of Miami this year by Miami fans, which was, we were never going to let you have Cam Ward. We can't afford to. Our coach was 12-13 coming into this season. They gave him a massive contract that really kind of went outside the lines of what Miami's done in the last 20 years. They haven't paid coaches like that. They haven't really been very serious about winning. They were now serious about winning. They realized their mistake, their missteps, and they wanted to win. They saw the value long-term of Miami football being good again as a university, not as an athletic department, as a university. They finally got a president and an athletic director who were like, yeah, that needs to win. There are all kinds of ancillary benefits to football winning. We need to win. What do we got to do? Well, let's go bring Mario in. Let's pay him a ton of money because he's a good recruiter and he played here, and he'll probably be able to recruit some. And when it wasn't going well, the thought was, all right, sink more money into it this year. Make it so it's impossible for that dumbass who won't take a knee to fail. Make it foolproof so that he can't possibly fail. We'll just be bigger, stronger, and faster. Can't screw that up. Run any play. We're bigger, stronger, and faster. It doesn't matter. That was the investment. That was the thought. And then that was what would allow them long-term to take advantage of the one thing that he does do very, very well, which is recruit. He does that very well. Cares about it passionately. It's like his greatest passion. So there it is. Florida State is in a similar predicament right now. When you are investing the kind of money that they are in the stadium, and you've begged people to spend gobs of money to keep their seats or be relocated or whatever it might be to upgrade their status. My father had to do that, upgraded his status as a donor, right? So you go, for some people, you just, you might be you want to be a golden chief or a silver chief or whatever, you just move on up the ladder. They asked people to do all of those things in order to keep their seats, in order to have an opportunity to choose the better seats. They asked people to be patient with them while this was going on in season. Difficult for a lot of people. It sucks. In the stadium is a lot smaller. Tickets are harder to come by. Parking's terrible. All those things. But they did invest in Mike and his staff, and they did invest that football, in this lawsuit because long-term they knew this was what was going to pay the bills, and they wanted to be on an equal playing field as those they seek to compete against, both in the state and in the region. And so they filed a lawsuit that they knew would cause a lot of stress and cost millions of dollars to try to win. And they were all in. So they have to remain all in. And that is what people would say you could look to as the most positive element of this disaster, which is they can't afford to lose. You'd rather throw in more money at a situation that you've already thrown a ton of money at because there's no going back. That money's a sunk cost. It's already been invested.
If only tuition could be raised, it's not expensive enough. Maybe they could find the money through tuition, but they would pull it. They'll pull the money from where they need to pull the money from in order to make it work. It's just that this is why you wanted to make those moves in the first place. And I'm talking about conference moves. Because you don't want to have to cut sports. Like, we just added one. Like, really? We're going to add another sport? Okay, interesting. But they will cut sports before they lose at football. Football will be the last thing standing.
They can't sustain losses long term. You can have a season like this, and it's nightmare, and they never saw this coming. Nobody did.
Football will be the last thing that goes. And so that means that's the first thing that needs to be invested in when there's a problem. So, yeah, I could see them trying to position themselves as saying, we just brought in some of the best coaching talent, coordinator talent that can be afforded on the market. Like, that would be the pitch. That's how you spin this. Is you have coordinator replacements and coaching replacements, and you say these are some of the brightest minds that are in the coaching industry that we could afford to bring in. Because you're going to have to, as a booster, as a member of the athletic department, representative, you're going to have to be able to spin this thing and sell it. In about 6 weeks' time, there are going to be moves made that you're going to have to pitch and sell to get people to continue to invest.
You know what I find fascinating? And that is this idea that Well, okay, let's look at it this way. Part of the problem with the business of coaching, and we see this happen a lot, is that a coach may know everything there is to know. We talk about this a lot. And then for whatever reason is not a fit in a certain region of the country or at a particular type of school, or maybe he doesn't fit with the head coach. They don't see the football world the same. They don't see eye to eye. There's no arguing his credibility as a coach and his successes at his previous stops. The argument becomes, does he fit with Mike? Does he fit in Tallahassee, Florida? Does he fit at Florida State? Has he always been a Midwest guy? Has he always been a West Coast guy? Has he always been a Northeast guy? Like these things all matter. So it's not as simple as saying, for example, I want to go get Jim Leonard, former player, former coach. Obviously, I'd like to get that guy and let him come in and do this, and this, right? Defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach. He's done a lot of things. He was a senior football analyst early on. He did a lot of things. He's in the NFL, all these things. Would it work? Does it work for him to be in Tallahassee? Is it something that Mike's got to evaluate all of that? I do think.
Well, is Dan Lanning an Oregon guy, a Pacific Northwest guy?
Right, and he's the head coach. So you're adding coordinators. They have to listen to you. But that said, along the lines of the money dictates what's going to happen. Listen, Jimmy Sexton, who seems to have under his umbrella every meaningful name in the coaching industry, and that includes many top assistants all over the country, would tell you, I'm pretty sure, that one of his prized clients financially, meaning the money he makes off of said client, is in fact Mike Norvell, whom he has certainly worked out a very, very kind deal of $10 million plus. He'd like Mike to remain employed. I mean, that pays Papa quite well. That's a client that you really want to make sure is happy. That's a client that hopefully you both have a good relationship with, because that's the kind of partnership you want to have when you're working so closely together in the same industry, or you both want to succeed, but also a client that you really like to have because you make a ton of money off of them. Let's just call it for what it is. Business is business. And if you're a guy that's coaching at Southern Miss and you're a client, you still matter. I've still made a lot of money for you, and you've made money for me. You might be getting paid $2-3 million a year currently. Can you hold on? My $11 million a year coach is on the other line. You're the guy that gets put on hold. Click. Yes, Mike. And now, to be sure, if Nick calls, well, Mike, hold on a second. Nick is calling. We get it. There's the hierarchy. But the point is, there aren't too many people that Mike gets put on hold for. And I would think that Mike would turn to an agent in a desperate situation like this and say, hey, man, you like the kind of money you get paid off of me, and I like the kind of money I make. And we're in dire straits. And you've got a lot of names and a lot of people that are elsewhere. Might they need to be here in Tallahassee? So all of the stuff behind the scenes that we're hoping to catch a glimpse of, and the lights being shined on the names and the potential candidates and the people that you think might be a possibility because they once worked with Mike 15 years ago, or played with him at Arkansas State, or a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who once said that he liked Mike's offense. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's much more direct and pointed and organized than that. It's probably already started.
Well, we were talking about what does he do first in the first hour of the program. So you would say that, you might want to call on a coaching mind and industry mind that is outside of your circle.
Yeah, you'd still want to do that, by the way.
Yeah, but your first phone call is not to that place. Your first phone call is to Jimmy.
My first phone call is to my agent because I am getting concerned about my employment status. I'm getting concerned about what's out there, what's possible, what happens if this really goes south. No, your agent is probably high on the list of people because your agent also works for you. and he has it in his best interest to try to make this work. So I'm sure Jimmy, without Mike even calling, has begun to formulate a plan. He didn't get to be where he is by being a dummy. He's played the puppet strings on college football for years. He has masterfully manipulated, convinced, cajoled, and everything in between school presidents and athletic directors and head coaches and assistant coaches and coordinators and administrators of all kinds. All of it. He's done this a million times over. He continually plays universities off of one another to get his clients more money and thus him more money. I got to believe my man is in the midst of a grand orchestration right now.
Well, that's why he buys the newspaper every day, so that when he has his hostage photos of all the universities that he's got tied up in a chair, he wants you to know that they're alive today. But I've got you, Florida State. I've got you, Alabama. I've got you, Oregon. I've got you, Penn State. Yeah. He's been that way, and we made a deal with him this past year that was awfully good for Mike, that I championed at the time because it gave the program more resources. I just thought we would do things with the resources.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you could see where that guy with that Rolodex of clients could be of service. I don't think that changes the methods. It doesn't change the product on the field, but it can help you get people in the building.
Well, yes, it can absolutely help you get people in the building. And, it could also be that you're the conduit in the sense that you're able to guarantee those coaches that this isn't going to be a short-term fix, that they're not going to have to worry that the guy they're going to work for is going to be fired in a year. Because in order to pull all of this off, those guys are going to need assurances. Mike is going to need the money that he's going to ask for in order to bring these coaches in. Those coaches are going to say, well, let's say I entertain the idea of coming to work for you, Mike, and help get you and get this thing turned around. How do I know I'm not leaving a very stable situation that I have here in which I'm making good money, by the way, and my coach didn't go 2-10. My head coach is 9-4, 9-3. I'm not getting fired anytime soon. Well, the university and that agent are going to have to be able to say, and more than say, perhaps rework a deal, that there's no way they're going to have to worry about that money, deferred payments, or anything of the like.
You'd have to have a multi-year assurance. If I'm a coach that has that type of reputation that you're talking about, it's ready-made in a sense, I'd have to know that I'm getting 2 years. Mike is getting 2 years. The situation is getting a couple of years to work. Because if it's a one and done, I look bad. I'm back out on the market a year from now, whether it's my fault or not. The only other way you can manage that is if you back channel and say, well, you do a good enough job. I mean, you might get an interim shot.
Yeah,
here.
but then you're operating under deceit. I don't think you want to do that.
I would not do that either.
Right.
But I'm just saying that you also want a carrot to dangle to attract big names that can help you. Because the end goal is, if you do your job when you get here as the coordinator and Mike does his better, then you're going to get a head coaching job either here or there or somewhere, because we're going to use each other. This is what college football is all about.
Sure.
And it always has been. I get that people get the warm and fuzzies when they put on different uniforms and different hats, but the players, if they have NFL aspirations, know that this is a stepping stone. I'm going to use this opportunity. You're going to use my talents. I'm going to use your brand. And together, you're going to get me drafted with the 12th overall pick by the New York Giants.
Well, I do take comfort. I do take solace in the thought that it's not just Mike sitting around at his desk burning the midnight oil, pitch black in Tallahassee as we all sleep, thinking, who should I talk to? I don't think it's like that. He's got people that he's known for years, people in the coaching community that he's worked with in the past, people that he has a trust in and with. But also he does have the super agent who is no doubt in many situations also the agent of coaches that could help you, coaches that are looking for that opportunity. It is still Florida State. It is still a place that is infinitely better reputationally and opportunity-wise than many of these up-and-coming young coaches have currently. If you're a great up-and-coming coach at, say, Old Dominion, and you're very quietly leading one of the better 30 offenses in the country, and nobody really knows who you are, and you're 33 and you've paid some dues and you're looking for the come up, Maybe that call comes into you from Jimmy Sexton. Maybe it's, hey, Mike's been interested. Is this something you would be looking to do? He's been pretty impressed with what you've done there. Like those kinds of things, I think, are happening. I made that up, by the way. I don't.
Sometimes it sounds very specific.
No. I made that up. I just said Old Dominion for the hell because I sometimes like to use Old Dominion for some reason as an example. But
like Topeka. You like to pick on Topeka.
Topeka and Sheboygan and places like that are fun to say. No, it's not. I'm not saying that. I don't even know who the coordinator is at Old Dominion.
Oh my God, it's a Knoll grad.
Jeff, did you know? I didn't know, Tom. Yeah.
It was Christian Ponder.
But I do think those kinds of conversations are happening. I do. I think it's entirely possible. And that's exciting because, like you, I want them to be happening right now. like yesterday.
Yeah, we could have used a little bit of that just as a fire in the belly. But the thing is that will they magically have the money to make a move on the headman if they need to next year? You're only losing a portion of the buyout.
It would just reach a point where you couldn't afford not to, though. You'd get to that place.
Yeah, that's the whole thing where you're getting at. You can't afford to fail.
Right.
But they think they can get around it without needing to pay the buyout.
Yeah, they're hoping not to have to do it. They don't want to do it. And Mike, I think they believe has earned this extra year. I mean, that's the part that I think is a realistic argument. You could say, look, man, I think they feel like because he inherited a nightmare. Golly, I got heartburn for no reason. Anyhow,
it's all those Baby Ruths.
It probably is. It's probably the candy from in here. Damn it. I love Halloween, but I don't even eat candy unless it's Halloween. And then, of course, the office has it. But what are you going to turn down a Reese's? So, man, it's back to this. I do think that, like, they believe, look, he's earned this. I hate what's happened here. This is a travesty. There's no getting around it. There's no nice way to talk about it. You have failed miserably, and in different circumstances, you might be fired, but you did win 19 straight. You did win the conference last year. You did have an undefeated regular season, and I don't really want to spend $63 million, so get it together, man.
Yeah, it's interesting is there are some people in the fan base that think, might be Monday morning quarterbacking, but I never thought he was a good coach. Like, okay. Well, you weren't apologizing when he was winning 19 straight. But let's just say that you believe that he's not a good coach. Well, what does it say about Florida State University that somebody you believe is not a good coach can lead an undefeated campaign?
It speaks highly of the school, yes.
It speaks highly of the opportunity here. So that's the way you would pitch it on the open market. For coordinators. Again, I'm not talking about the head job. I'm just saying for coordinators. Like, we've had 3 different people have undefeated seasons here in the last 25 years. Find me a non-SEC program that's done that. Alabama hasn't done that.
No, most of the SEC programs don't do that.
Right.
Because admittedly, the conference is better and tougher.
Sure. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, I do
like LSU's the closest thing. Alabama has it because it's only Nick. That's the only guy who's done it in the last quarter century. For us, 3 dudes have.
Yeah, well, I thought Jimbo's winning the national title was very important because it showed that we weren't just Bobby Bowden.
Well, that's where making the Invitational last year would have helped as well.
Well, and we should have. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Honey, I'm home.
We're in here, honey.
So why are all my friends here?
Have a seat, Dave. We need to talk about your problem.
Problem? I don't have a problem.
Dave, you do have a problem. Problem with your grill. Here's some pamphlets from Hearth and Patio. They are waiting for your call to help you upgrade your grill.
If you or someone you know needs a grilling intervention, call Hearth and Patio today at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282 or hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, in both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFits are RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit.
This is Hugh Tomlinson, president of the Tallahassee Quarterback Club. I invite you to join our historic club supporting local football since 1949. Don't miss our exciting events featuring legendary and popular football personalities. Get updates from FSU coaches, win great door prizes, and stay on top of all local football. Attend our next event featuring former FSU quarterback Danny Cannell on November 12th. Get your tickets or join our club at TallahasseeQBClub.com. That's TallahasseeQBClub.com. Get in the game. Get in the club.
This is Gene Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. USC's 42-20 victory over Rutgers, which kicked off at 11:01 p.m. on Friday night. That was the night that the home run was hit by Freddie Freeman, the home run. The walk-off grand slam with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th. That game broadcast began on FS1 as the Dodgers won that game 6-3. The first game of the Fall Classic watched by, as you know, 15.2 million people, the most for a World Series game since 2017. The vast majority didn't stick around for the conference realignment-enabled Big Ten football clash. The Rutgers USC rating is 69% higher than the average viewership for other late-night college football broadcasts on Fox Sports platforms, but the audience is also down 27% from the average. Now, I tell you all that to tell you this. They've got 4 more of these games that are happening, and in what was, at least from a time slot and upset perspective, a less chaotic weekend for college football than most of the other weekends have been this season, the Big Ten has topped the SEC in viewership through Week 9 action. Not by a lot. 5.95 million viewers for Ohio State 21-17 over Nebraska. Turned out to be a very close game. Real low possession game. I believe Ohio State only ran 44 plays. That's how you can only score 21 points and be in the midst of a shocking upset potential. ABC wasn't far behind. The problem for ABC was that Alabama beat Missouri 34-0, which was my easiest win of my bets last week because Mizzou's a fraud, and we knew it. We knew Alabama would be mad, and that's that. The most watched game of the season. You got to guess, everybody? That's right, Georgia and Texas. 13.2 million people tuned into ABC earlier in the month to watch Georgia versus Texas.
What's interesting is that means that the World Series is outrating college football's most watched game. They had, I thought, a disappointing night on Monday. Their rating was 13 and change. It was the most watched event on television.
Yeah.
It outdid Monday Night Football,
It
which is good. But it peaked in the 14s. I really would have thought a Monday night of LA versus New York would have been the time for them to hit their peak number. Maybe 2-0 did something to that. But Monday, there's fewer options than a Friday night and, of course, Saturday with college football. But still.
They're not disappointed by the numbers they're getting in Japan. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
And 13-3 is not bad at all. It's
No.
just that, I thought it would have been a monster on Monday.
Don't know if you saw this yet, but Duke star Cooper Flagg, who we've been watching as a internet fame, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever star for the last 3 years. He's the projected number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and he's the first of the men's college players that are high profile this year in college basketball to sign an NIL deal with Gatorade. Man, every time I read one of these stories, I recognize that there was a time when I played high school athletics and, competed in the district that I was in, and everybody did that. That's what you did if you played high school sports. You would always find these kids that were like freaks, these guys that you're like, oh, well, that dude's the best player in this district. That guy's an amazing player. One of them happened to be on my team. I was lucky. But I would see it in practice, and I'd see it with other teams. I'd be like, man, Tommy Carter's going to be a star. He went on to Notre Dame, went on to the NFL, was a star. William Floyd was the other one, went on to be a star at Florida State, went on to be a star in the NFL till a bad knee injury. But I remember even way back then thinking, I wonder what would happen if a company like Gatorade, which has been around a long time, were to tag a high school superstar. I remember thinking just in my district alone, there were people that everybody knew. There was a guy that played for Northeast, a guy that played for Boca Ciega, a guy that played for Gibbs, a guy that played for St. Pete High, whatever, right? There were the stars of their high school. Maybe they were a 3-sport athlete. Maybe they were a superstar in track. They could also play basketball and baseball, whatever it would be. Everybody knew their names. And I remember thinking, well, that would be like, it'd be wise of an organization, Gatorade's perfect for this conversation, to attach themselves to a high school player. But it wasn't allowed. Remember, you couldn't do it. And now I'm reading these stories about Cooper Flagg, who's a true freshman at Duke. He's 18 years old. He just inked a multi-million-dollar deal with Gatorade.
That's after inking a multi-million-dollar deal with Duke. That's if you're the number 1 overall player, that BYU kid or the kid that BYU is recruiting is going to command somewhere between $3 and $4 million.
Yeah.
You just think about that. Right now, the higher football rosters, from what we can gather from the outside, the higher rosters, higher priced rosters for football are around 10, 12, like for the whole team. You spend 4 on one player. Basketball is absurd. Where's the return on investment for basketball? If you think it's bad with football, college basketball?
Well, I mean, I can see where Duke sees the value in a Cooper Flagg. But the 99.9% of the places that you're talking about, absolutely.
How many people fit in that building? Like 7,000? Like I don't know. Like I get it for your branding.
For your branding.
Yeah,
dude,
sure.
I mean, that's a big deal.
You need to invest in it, but we know what football brings back from a television revenue standpoint versus what basketball does. It's a quarter on the dollar for basketball if you're lucky.
Yeah, Duke might be the exception. Duke, yeah, I'm with you on this. I think if you're Kansas, if you're Duke, if you're one of those kinds of schools, I really do hate, Tom, that we've reached a place in college basketball where it feels like there are 5 teams and nobody else cares. And it's like, I mean, I know I'm being over the top and exaggerating a little bit, but it's like we seem so far removed from a time where Florida State could be competitive in basketball, and it wasn't that long ago. And it's not just because Ham is at the end of his career. We saw this coming when all of the NIL stuff and unlimited transfers became a thing. I remember saying to you at that time, he's done. It's over. If you're a veteran coach, if you've been around forever and you're at a nondescript basketball school, meaning Florida State's a nondescript basketball school in the world of college basketball. It's not a nondescript school, but it is a nondescript basketball school. It's not a place. Most high school stars in basketball, if you said, start naming college basketball programs, good ones, start naming them. How many would they name before they ever came up with Florida State? 80? 60? So I knew and began to think, well, we're screwed. Because Leonard is not going to suddenly figure out NIL on his own and the transfer. He's old. It's not going to happen.
Well, where's the money?
We don't have the money.
That's the more important thing.
They don't have the money, and they don't have a guy who's going to be cutting edge. They don't have any of that.
You can figure out NIL if you have the money. You just say, hey, pay that guy, but
I also think
it's not a priority.
Yeah, and again, though, these kids are always going to be able to get more money from a place that prioritizes basketball. And Florida State is never going to prioritize basketball. And really shouldn't. They're not going to.
It might if you get into a different conference, but that's where we're stuck right now between appeals or briefings, whatever they are.
Yeah, that is frustrating. I don't even feel like I probably am too dour on this. I don't feel like college basketball moves the needle in any way anymore. Nobody I talk to that I love that loves sports as much as we love sports, that people who are like you and I who got into this business because we love sports. It used to, when I started in radio, you couldn't go too many segments without at least talking and diagnosing and analyzing the conferences and the star players of college basketball and the matchups that were on the horizon and who you thought would make the tournament and who wouldn't and who's a potential Sweet 16 or Elite 8 team. You couldn't go for years. That was just standard operating procedure. Why wouldn't you? It's big-time college basketball. You're going to talk about it. Nobody does. If you flip around, even on national shows, they don't talk about college basketball.
They will for the tournament, and they'll butcher pronunciations and names because they've never seen the team.
That's right. That's what I mean, though. Like the biggest shows, they're not talking college basketball.
They're talking about what's Aaron Rodgers doing today.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
He'll be on Pat McAfee's show later today. Let's see what he says.
About another loss. And another loss. And another loss. They're technically in last in the division because they lost head-to-head to New England.
Since the beginning of the AFC East's existence, the Jets have the fifth most division championships because the Colts have more.
Oh, isn't that great? Goodness gracious. We've got an event coming up on November the 7th to benefit the second harvest of the Big Bend, and we're very excited about it. My friends at Tried and True Consulting, responsible for putting this event on. I will be there. I'm very much looking forward to it. We are going to have a chance to collect and to raise some money and to do a good thing. I'm going to be telling you more and more about it as we get closer and closer to it, but it will be at the Barrel Proof Lounge there. And Tried and True joining forces, again, as I said before, with the second harvest of the Big Bend. If you'd like to engage with Tried and True Consulting and have them do what they do best for you, which is make you money, save you money, give them a call today at 844-464-6653. That is 844-464-6653. And get connected with my man, Don or Joe, over at Tried and True Consulting.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Dry pattern continues with rain chances pretty much staying out of the forecast through the week and the weekend. High temperatures warm as well with highs in the mid-80s and lows in the 60s. Today, mostly sunny, high of 86. Tonight, low of 64. Thursday, sunny with a high of 85, low of 62. Friday and Saturday, more sunshine with highs near 85. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pests, and for a greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
Hey, fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
On the front lines, fighting the insanity of the woke.
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
MetaShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MetaShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MetaShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MetaShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before October 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is October 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
2,584 silver coins sold for $5.6 million and became the most valuable treasure in British history. And, of course, just stumbled across. Always somebody finding coins. In this case, from the Norman invasion of England in 1066. Son of a...
You could get your share of it today by calling 855 Bible.
The coins are scheduled to debut at the British Museum in November, travel across the country before ultimately taking up permanent residence at the Museum of Somerset, where visitors can view these remarkable artifacts from a pivotal chapter in English history year-round. Yeah, I love it. It's some dude who's invested in a metal detector that's like, beep, beep, beep. Oh, what do we got there? And yeah, that's exactly what happened. On January 26, 2019, 7 metal detectorists, also known as geeks, were surveying a field and attempting to find anything that would float their boat with those little beepy sounds.
I got one.
Oh, it's a tack. And then the next thing they found was, yes, 2,584 silver coins that were the depiction of Edward the Confessor and William the Conqueror. Most unfortunate name, Edward the Confessor. All part of the Norman conquest. It was from 1066. Good God, man.
Do you confess?
Yes. Yeah, I am Edward the Confessor. I know not how to do anything else. I do. a coin from the trove featuring Edward the Confessor. Lest you forgot, Tom, Edward the Confessor ruled England from about 1042 until his death in 1066. Tread lightly around Edward the Confessor. My man had some serious power. So they were quoted, this guy, Adam Staples, said, "It was totally unbelievable. To find one coin would be an exceptional day of metal detecting. Jeez. To find two unrelated coins would be almost impossible. And when there were more beeps, from 2 to 10, then 50 to 100, the beeps were everywhere. It was crazy." Staples and the rest of his team reported the find immediately. Man. Do they get the money? Do they get all the money? I would think they do, right?
Probably so. I will say that somebody put in the chat, who goes and views coins? That's Hawaiian, which it's a good question. But when you go into the...
But if you go into a museum...
You go to the antiquities wing of a museum.
Yeah,
I was just at Harvard's over the summer.
Yeah.
It is remarkable. Not a conspiracy theory, but they are remarkably precise in 2500 BC with the coins that they made. I'm like, my God, these things are down to the nanometer of somebody's nose, the hair on their head.
Well, if I could show you this picture of Edward the Confessor, you wouldn't be as impressed.
Those Egyptians got after it.
Yes,
with
they
the
did.
coin making.
Yes, they did.
My God, you could see that Pharaoh's in HD.
The Bretts did not. This is a really sorry, sad sap effort of Edward the Confessor. Sloppy effort here. He does have a beard. We now know that.
Maybe it's because the people were small themselves that they could
tiny
make these,
little fingers with tiny little instruments.
Yeah, they could make these little things. But I mean, my God, the repeatability, those molds they must have made were so damn precise.
1066 to 1068 are the ages of these coins that these detectorists, geeks found. And good for them. I mean, goodness gracious, if I was out there trying to metal detect on the regular.
Can we call Jimmy Sexton Jimmy the Confessor now, just because?
You know, by the way, that story that I read was right after I read a story about an archaeologist uncovering a 4,000-year-old dagger in a cave in Italy. How cool is that? You never see the hard work. You don't know the days that they go home empty-handed, Tom. But that day you push aside the mud a little bit and go, might that be?
Well, Gene Deckerhoff was there. There's the dagger. There's the dagger.
This was deep inside a cave, which, no, I'm not doing. Not doing it. Forever reading stories about that, too. People going in caves looking for crazy things and never coming out, getting stuck and dying terrible deaths.
Now, that dagger walked in there with a person and it's screaming. It's like, hey, I don't want to go in here.
This is not good.
This is not a good idea.
Yeah, it was inside the Tina Cave, which, save your jokes. Everybody perked up as soon as I said it. Move it along. Move it along. They also found another dagger further in the cave, used by a different ancient people from a different time. So 200-300 years apart, that cave saw folks with daggers. This must have been a really good place to hide.
Well, I think the one person was looking for the lost dagger of Euripides. and so he went looking for the other guy. And
look what we found.
He was so close.
Even more.
And in what cave now was that?
The Tina's Cave. Lightning, Colorado tonight.
Good game. Stay up. 9 o'clock. A lot of up and down action.
There's not much else. Tonight's kind of, I mean, we've talked about the days.
Game 5 tonight?
Is it game 5 tonight?
I think you do. Because it's still in New York.
3 straight, right? In New York. Yeah, you're right. 8 o'clock. Okay, we got it. I'll be watching that.
8:08.
And in 4K. Little 4K action, buddy. And the Yankees do have Garrett Cole throwing tonight. You get a good start from Garrett Cole and get a win here. Now 3-2 becomes kind of a conversation starter.
It could get interesting.
It does get interesting because game 6 is the whole thing.
You know what's fascinating? This tells you about, speaking on 4K very quickly, how invested ESPN is into its bosom buddies at the SEC. Monday Night Football is not offered in ESPN 4K.
Yes, it is not. That is correct.
But SEC Saturday Night Football, in addition to one midday game on Saturday, is. Riddle me that. How's that possible? That you have 4K available for college football, but not the NFL, which you bend over backwards to buy highlights from, all that kind of stuff.
I'm forever frustrated by what is or is not available in 4K to begin with. There are so many obvious things that should be that aren't. We don't have a lot in 4K. And they've been in 4K has been around for a minute. Remember when?
I mean, they're selling 8K televisions.
Waste your money if you want to. There ain't a damn thing in 8K. You can barely find 5 things in 4K. Got me a new 8K television for $10,000. Good. It'll be 10 years before you see something in 8K.
That's why I've kept my laser disc player. These DVDs aren't going to work.
I will tell you, though, the DVDs and the Blu-rays, many of those things that came with those Blu-ray packages that you could buy back in the day if you went and bought Heat or you went and bought Goodfellas or whatever you did, right? They had all of those kick-ass director extras and all and the commentators from the actors themselves. Like, that doesn't exist anymore when you just digitally download movies. You don't get any of that.
Got to hope that somebody puts it on YouTube without getting, dinged for copyright.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Like, some of that stuff was fascinating. I saw something the other day where you can bid for this one that was a Blu-ray. I can't remember the movie because I don't think it was anything that interested me. But the actors that were in the movie intentionally made it kind of like a lark. They say crazy things over the film. And then they were made to, they shut it down. They only produced so many of those because they're like, no, we can't send this out. Like, they're having fun at the expense of the movie and themselves. But people got copies. People were able to buy some before they got pulled off the shelves. And so now it's worth thousands of dollars to hear, like, De Niro making fun of the director or making fun of, I mean, I'm just using that as I don't remember what it was. But yeah, there's where the actors are making fun of everything. Their dialogue, the set, all of it.
Well, this is one thing that Instagram's been good for.
That's true.
You see a lot of the behind-the-scenes footage for several things. Like, I learned that the Death Star in Star Wars, it's a glass painting. That's how they set the stage. It's a glass painting layered over film of the actual action.
That's pretty badass.
It is. Yes. You didn't expect for it to be badass,
No,
did you?
I thought it was going to suck because it was about Star Wars. Good work out of you. Good work, everybody. Be well. Hang in there until tomorrow. Wake up Warchant tonight. Right there on Warchant TV. That'll be entertaining. That'll be good, and I suggest you watch it. Talk to you tomorrow on Redemption Thursday. We went 8-2 last week. Peace.
Shannon Young with Fair.